Chapter 1199. Misunderstood false information. But no matter what, the two came to an agreement. They went to the pharmacy, and Meng Yao bought a few bottles of Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine. Although Lin Yi could ask Fatty Lai to give some to the orphanage, it was better to buy two as a backup. Back at the orphanage, Lin Yi told Xiaoke about the things to take note of when brewing the medicine before leaving. Yan's injury was a piece of cake to Lin Yi, and it wasn't a big deal. Lin Yi's second stop was to find Yuan with Air Gooden. Today was destined to be a busy day, and with the medicine Gooden brought, Lin Yi couldn't wait to treat Tang Juqing and Fun. It was a good chance to introduce his follower, Kong Xiaobo, to Air Gooden. Fatty Lai, too, had officially received Lin Yi's approval. But Meng Yao and Yushu didn't need to go to Yuan's place, so Lin Yi let them return to the villa first. Family Xiao sent the two pie masters to the hospital, and after returning to the villa, they started plotting. "Brother, the two masters from House Pie are in the hospital. We have to keep this a secret. We can't let our partners know about this, or else they'll reevaluate our strength." Xiao Ji said worriedly, "Of course we have to keep it a secret. But big bro, you have to know that there's no such thing as an impenetrable wall in this world. We can't hide this forever. People will find out eventually." Xiao Ben sighed. "But the good thing is that we're not as strong as them. Although the two pie masters aren't a match for the hero, they're still a threat to the smaller houses." "That's true. But I think we should use the time when the hero is looking for Lin Yi to cause trouble for House Chu. Otherwise, when Lin Yi recovers and finds out that two of our House Pie masters are in the hospital, we won't be able to get what we want." Xiao Ji said, "I think we need to hurry." "And that makes sense. How about this, sister-in-law? You go to the Chu family's villa to investigate and see what's going on over there. Did the hero injure Lin Yi?" Xiao Ben nodded and instructed. "I go." Huli was a little scared. She was afraid that she would meet the hero again. "Yes, only you can go. You can use the excuse of looking at the lion to find out more about the situation." Xiao Ben said, "If we go, we're not familiar with the two girls of the Chu family, so we can't ask them some questions." "All right, go." Huli thought about it and clenched her teeth. She was willing to take the risk to attack House Chu. "Go." Huli left the Xiao family and took a deep breath. She calmed herself down and drove the Ferrari back to the Chu family's villa. Meng Yao and Yushu got home and saw the broken iron fence in front of the villa. They didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This guy was Lin Yi's follower, so naturally they couldn't ask him to pay for it. They could only hire someone to fix it themselves. When they got home, the lion and General Weiwu were nowhere to be seen. Yushu was a little confused. She walked around the villa and saw the lion sleeping in the warehouse. "Fuck, you stupid lion, your master isn't home and you're lazing around here? Do you want to die?" Yushu was very pissed off. What was wrong with this lion? How long had it been since she left? Woof, woof. General Weiwu barked, helplessly. "Shoo, forget it. This is the lion's first day of training, and you've been torturing it for the whole morning. It doesn't have General Weiwu's stamina. It's going to rest now that it's tired." Meng Yao walked over and roughly understood what General Weiwu was trying to say. General Weiwu was a golden-class dog, but the lion wasn't. Lin Yi didn't have any intentions of modifying it at the moment, evidently not trusting the lion's loyalty. It was impossible for a lion without any strength to be like General Weiwu. Oh, Yushu thought about it and realized that it was the case. She didn't care anymore. "All right, go to sleep then. We'll continue training tomorrow." The two were discussing the lion when Go Huli's voice came from the door. "Is anyone home? Why's that old woman here again?" Yushu rolled her eyes when she heard Go Huli's voice. She walked to the front of the villa unhappily. After Go Huli arrived at House Chu's villa, she first observed the situation outside. She realized that the iron fence on the villa's door was broken, just like her house Xiao's villa. Go Huli was instantly delighted. It seemed that the hero had found this place and had a conflict with House Chu's people. If there wasn't a conflict, House Chu would have let him in peacefully, and they wouldn't have broken the iron fence. It seemed like the conflict had been going on for a while, but there weren't any sounds of fighting. It should be over already. Go Huli mustered up her courage and called out. Yushu walked to the front yard and frowned when she saw Go Huli standing at the door. What are you doing here again? Why is there no end to this old hag? Do you want to show me how to pull your head off? Go Huli heard Yushu's sarcasm and wanted to yell at her, but she remembered that she was here on a mission and couldn't make things awkward with Yushu. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to get any information out of Yushu. With that thought, Go Huli held back her anger and smiled embarrassedly. How can this person live after his head is pulled off? Oh, then why are you here if he can't live? Yushu was pissed when she saw a lazy lion, and now Go Huli was here. How could she be happy? Where's the lion? Go Huli asked after some hesitation. Dead. Yushu didn't like lions in the first place, so she answered casually when Go Huli asked, dead. Go Huli clicked her tongue in satisfaction. You ungrateful lion slave. It's better if you're dead. But she didn't show it on her face. Oh, then where's Linny? He went to the hospital. What's the matter? Meng Yao walked over and said impatiently. She had a bad impression of Go Huli and didn't want her to waste time at the door. Meng Yao still needed Faubert to come back and fix the door. Chapter 1200. Come to the door. Again Meng Yao looked at Huli's back, confused. She didn't know why Huli came here, all of a sudden. Huli didn't know that Meng Yao was talking about going to the hospital to treat Yuan's mother. Huli thought that Lin Yi was in the hospital because of his own injuries. Huli quickly drove back to the Xiao family and excitedly reported, Good news, good news. Huli, what's wrong? What's the good news? Xiao Ji looked at Huli's face and guessed what was going on. Master has already caused a ruckus in House Chu. Lion was killed and Lin Yi is in the hospital. Chu little girl and Chun little girl look like they just ate gunpowder. Go Huli said happily, Is that so? If that's the case, then the heavens are helping our Xiao family. Xiao Ji laughed. Brother, let's find some people to deal with Pengzhan Industries. Yes, not bad. Let's go to Pengzhan Industries now and talk to him. If he knows what's good for him, he'll give us some benefits. If he doesn't, we'll suppress Pengzhan Industries in the stock market. We have a lot of alliances now anyway, and we won't need to invest any money. I'm sure a lot of people will want to split Pengzhan Industries with us. Xiao Ben thought about it and said, In fact, ever since the masters from House Pai entered the Xiao family, more and more smaller families came to flatter them. Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben's ego had started to inflate. They enjoyed the feeling of being on top of the world. Every time they thought about the humiliation they suffered in House Chu, they would grit their teeth, wanting to avenge themselves, but there was never a suitable opportunity. Now that the opportunity was here, naturally, they wouldn't let it go. Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben didn't linger and left for Pengzhan Industries. This matter couldn't be delayed. They had to be decisive. Pengzhan wasn't expecting Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben to come visit at this time. He knew about the Xiao family's resurgence, and he was afraid that the Xiao family would come for revenge at first. But after a while, he was relieved to see that everything was fine. House Pai probably wouldn't make an enemy out of Lin Yi for no reason. It wouldn't benefit House Pai, so the Xiao family brothers didn't make a move. Mr. Xiao, may I know what brings you here? The enmity between Pengzhan and the Xiao family was irresolved. They were already enemies. And so Pengzhan wouldn't mince his words. Judging from the looks on Xiao Ben and Xiao Ji's faces today, he knew that these two didn't have good intentions. Pengzhan, thanks to you, our Xiao family was almost finished. Xiao Ji said coldly as he sat down on the sofa in Pengzhan's office. Mr. Xiao, if it weren't for the greed of your Xiao family, things wouldn't have turned out this way. Pengjan wasn't angered. He was a man of manners after all. He only smiled faintly at Xiaoji's rudeness. But the heavens have blessed our Xiao family. Our Xiao family is not finished. We're even getting better. What do you think? Pengjan, are you jealous? Jealous? Wah! Xiaoji laughed loudly. Just say what you want. Pengjan knew that the Xiao family brothers didn't come here to show off. They probably had something to discuss. Pengjan, don't think that I'm letting you off the hook just because I didn't come looking for you. I didn't come looking for you because I didn't have the time. Let me tell you, the enmity between our families is huge. Xiao Ji slammed the coffee table in front of him. Pengjan frowned. He didn't think that the Xiao family brothers would come looking for him again after so long, and from the looks of it, they were definitely here for trouble. But what kind of courage was it that made the Xiao family act this way? Could they be this arrogant with just 2 masters from House Pai supporting them? But why didn't they come looking for trouble when the masters from House Pai just arrived? Why did they wait so long? Mr. Xiao, you've probably forgotten the pain of the past. It's only been a short time, and you've already forgotten the lesson from last time? Pengjan had thought things through after what happened last time. There were times when it was time to be tough, and he'd just give it his all. Even Lin Yi was willing to give up everything for House Chu. So what was there for Pengjan to do? Pengjan, I'm not afraid to tell you that we're here for what happened last time. Xiao Ji smiled coldly. Pengjan, don't say that I didn't give you a way out. You have 2 choices. One is to hand over a portion of your business to us, the Xiao family, and the other is to wait for us Xiao family and our partners to attack your stock market. Pengjan frowned. There was no doubt that Xiao Ji was the same as last time. He was asking for too much. But Xiao Ji wouldn't do something as crazy as this unless he had something to rely on. He wouldn't just come here and say something stupid like this. His business wasn't something he could just give away just because he wanted it. And so Pengjan only smiled faintly. Mr. Xiao, you seem very confident. Is it because of the 2 masters from House Pai? But don't forget that the masters from House Pai were beaten away by Lin Yi before. Lin Yi? Ha ha! So, you're still counting on Lin Yi? Xiao Ji laughed mockingly at Pengjan. I'm not afraid to tell you that the person you're counting on is now hospitalized. He's been beaten to the hospital by master. Hospitalized? Pengjan paused. What? You don't believe me? You can give your backer Lin Yi a call if you don't believe me, Xiao Ji said nonchalantly. Pengjan's face changed. He finally understood why the Xiao family would suddenly come to his doorstep again. They knew that Lin Yi was injured. Perhaps it was the same as last time they wanted to take advantage of the situation. But Lin Yi was perfectly fine. How could he be injured? He was even beaten up by some hero and hospitalized? Then why would Master hit him? If it was a master from House Pai, then Pengjan would still believe it, but where did this master come from? But even though Pengjan was doubtful, he still picked up his phone and called Lin Yi. He'd be able to get the most accurate information from Lin Yi. Lin Yi, where are you? Pengjan asked. Although he kept his tone normal, he couldn't help but feel anxious in his heart. I'm at the hospital. Lin Yi said. What's wrong? Uncle Chu, why are you suddenly asking this question? Chapter 1201. Chapter 1199. Xiao Ben's prediction. Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben looked at each other after seeing Pengjan's expression and smiled. It seemed that Go Huli's information was correct. Lin Yi was in the hospital. What's wrong? Uncle Chu. Lin Yi paused after hearing Pengjan's exclamation. Did something happen to Yao Yao? Yao Yao? Pengjan calmed himself down. He was worried about Meng Yao, but now that he thought about it, why would he care about Meng Yao if something really happened to Lin Yi? He didn't sound like he was injured at all. Pengjan quickly asked, What are you doing in the hospital? Oh, my friend's mother is injured. I'm taking a look at her. Lin Yi said, Uncle Chu, what happened? It's fine, I got it. Peng Shan let out a breath of relief after hearing Lin Yi's words. If Lin Yi was fine, it meant that the Xiao family's information was wrong. But since they knew that Lin Yi was in the hospital, they still had their eyes and ears. How is it? I'm not wrong, am I? Lin Yi is in the hospital now, right? Xiao Ji said proudly. Haha, he's in the hospital, but he's there to treat someone. He's not injured. Peng Zhan smiled faintly, feeling more confident now. Mr. Zhao's information is wrong, right? Act, continue acting? Xiao Ji looked at Peng Zhan mockingly. Peng Zhan, the panic on your face when you were on the phone already sold you out. Stop pretending. Songshan is only this big. How can you hide the news? Peng Zhan said mockingly. Say what you want, Mr. Xiao. If you insist, then there's nothing I can do. Peng Zhan shrugged. I'm busy, Mr. Xiao. Please do as you please. Peng Zhan, don't be ungrateful. Xiao Ji was furious after hearing Peng Zhan's words. Don't King refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Mr. Xiao, feel free to use whatever tricks you have. If it's purely a commercial attack, then do as you please. Peng Zhan smiled. If you want to keep threatening me, then so be it. I'm going to work now. You can continue. Peng Zhan, just you wait. I'll make you kneel on the ground and beg for mercy. Xiao Ji was infuriated Peng Zhan was still so stubborn even at a time like this. Big brother, since Mr. Chu is so stubborn, there's nothing we can do. Xiao Ben said faintly, but the public security has not been very good recently. I heard that there have been a series of disappearances. Lin Yi is injured again. Please don't let your daughter get lost. Xiao Ben, what do you mean? Peng Zhan's eyebrows furrowed. Despite his good manners, he couldn't help but get angry. Xiao Ben, are you forcing me? Don't think that I, Peng Zhan, am afraid of you just because you have 2 masters from House Pai in your Xiao family. Peng Zhan's words were spoken with confidence. When the masters from House Pai came to the Xiao family, Peng Zhan had discussed this with Faubert. When Peng Zhan heard that Faubert had recovered to the peak of the late phase of the golden class, he was relieved. Faubert said that he was a spiritual master now, and could fight evenly with a physical master who was 1 level higher than him. Even if that didn't work out, there was General Wei Wu, a dog, who was at the peak of the late phase of the golden class. 2 against 1, they would be able to kill that early phase mystic no matter what. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was at the middle phase of the mystic class. He could barely fight a physical master who was at the peak of the late phase of the mystic class. If they were to fight an all-out battle, it was hard to say who would win. So now that Peng Zhan knew that Lin Yi was fine, he wasn't afraid of the Xiao family. Good, very good. Peng Zhan, we'll see. Xiao Ben nodded and didn't say anything else. He pulled his brother Xiao Ji out of Peng Zhan's office. He believed that Lin Yi was injured and Peng Zhan's panic couldn't escape Xiao Ben's eyes. But why did Peng Zhan have such confidence after that? What did Lin Yi say to him after that? Xiao Ben's IQ was higher than Xiao Ji's, so he wondered if he had overlooked something after exiting Peng Zhan Industries. Xiao Ji was still cursing. Brother, don't you think this Peng Zhan doesn't know what's good for him? Does he really think that with Lin Yi, he can save him? Bro, there's something strange about this. Xiao Ben said after a sigh. Peng Zhan's panic when he heard that Lin Yi was in the hospital wasn't fake, but he was full of confidence after that. What's the reason? Yeah, brother, what you're saying makes sense. Is there something going on here? Xiao Ji calmed down and felt that Xiao Ben's words made sense. He was a rough guy, but he listened to Xiao Ben. Let me think. Xiao Ben got into the car and closed his eyes, putting his hands on his temples. He couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Xiao Ji didn't want to disturb him, so he sat beside Xiao Ben. Let's go. Head, are we going home or to the hospital? The driver didn't know where to go, so he asked, Hospital, right? The hospital. Xiao Ben cried out as he opened his eyes. Master Air, are we going to the hospital? The driver was startled by Xiao Ben's cry as he asked carefully, "No, let's go home." Xiao Ben said to the driver before turning to Xiao Ji, "Brother, I've thought it through." "Oh?" Xiao Ji quickly asked, "Brother, what's going on? Isn't Lin Yi in the hospital now? Elder Pai and Mr. Pai are there as well. Do you think Lin Yi would run into them?" Xiao Ben analyzed, word by word. If Lin Yi knew that Elder Pai and Mr. Pai were injured as well, wouldn't he have nothing to fear? Pengzhan wouldn't have to worry either, since our masters are in the hospital as well. That's possible. After Xiao Ji heard Xiao Ben's words, he nodded in agreement. That should be it. But we booked a private room. So how did Lin Yi see it? I don't know about that, but it's just a guess. Xiao Ben said, "There's another possibility. Lin Yi's injuries can recover very quickly. So even if Pengzhan knew that Lin Yi was injured, he wouldn't be afraid of us." "Oh, recover very quickly?" Xiao Ji pondered. Chapter 12:02. The difference in injuries. What does that mean? Xiao Ji paused. Could it be that House Chu wasn't pretending to be weak last time? That Lin Yi pretended to be injured to confuse us? That's not it. Xiao Ben waved his hand. What you said is possible, but it's not very likely. Pengzhan is a busy man. And if Lin Yi was fine a long time ago, why would Pengzhan bother with us? Could it be that he has nothing better to do? Plus, what benefits does he get from doing this? He doesn't get anything. There's not much of a difference between Lin Yi stepping out earlier and later. That makes sense, but Xiao Ji nodded. So you're saying that Lin Yi's recovery ability is very strong? Yes, so I'm guessing that Lin Yi hinted to Pengzhan that although he's injured, he'll recover soon. So that's why Pengzhan isn't afraid. Xiao Ben agreed. This is the only possibility that boosts Pengzhan's confidence. Then what should we do now? Xiao Ji said, "Now that the two masters from House Pai are hospitalized, there's nothing we can threaten Pengzhan with. I'll discuss with my business partners first and see if we can control and suppress Pengzhan Industries through the stock price. As long as we earn some profits for House Pai, I believe that the two masters from House Pai will stand up for us after they recover." Xiao Ben said, "Of course, we have to make use of House Pai's profits." "Yes, that's true. Let's do that then." Xiao Ji relaxed after hearing that. In the hospital, Lin Yi saw Yu Yuanyuan, a pretty girl, although she couldn't compare to Tang Yun. And the miss, she was still a pretty girl. If she really married Heir Gooden, it would be Heir Gooden's fortune. It could be seen that Yu Yuanyuan was the type of girl who knew her place, giving off a quiet and gentle feeling. "Yuanyuan, this is my boss. You can call him boss too." Heir Gooden brought Lin Yi to Mrs. Yu's room and introduced Lin Yi to Yuanyuan. "Hello, boss." Yuanyuan nodded politely to Lin Yi, but looking at Lin Yi's clothes, he didn't look like a country bumpkin at all. This was Gooden's boss? Lin Yi smiled. "Hello, shall we take a look at your mother's injuries first?" "Okay." Yuanyuan quickly moved aside and let Lin Yi go to her mother's bed. Mrs. Yu looked at Lin Yi in shock. Although she heard from Heir Gooden that his boss was a miracle doctor and could cure her leg, she still couldn't believe it when she saw how young Lin Yi was. "Do you have an x-ray? Let me take a look first." Lin Yi took a look at Mama Yu's leg. It was covered in plaster, and nothing could be seen from the outside. Hence, he turned to ask Yuanyuan. "Yes." Yuanyuan nodded. "The x-ray is with Dad. He went out to buy food. I'll call him now." "Don't worry, he should be back soon." Lin Yi waved his hand and asked Mrs. Yu, "Ani, how do you feel now? Does it still hurt?" "It hurts. It's been hurting for a long time. The doctor said that the bone was crushed. How can it not hurt?" Mrs. Yu sighed. "Young man, if it's difficult for you, don't bother. Just try your best. I've gotten over it these few days. Let's take a look at the x-ray later." Lin Yi smiled. "Ani, don't worry. Since you're Heir Gooden's elder, you might even be his mother-in-law in the future. No matter how hard it is, I'll find a way to help you stand up." Our hometown is quite far away. How are you going to get there if your leg isn't working? We even have a mountain there. It's fun. You can ask Air Gooden to catch some wild animals for you. Lin Yi pointed out the relationship between Air Gooden and Yu Yuanyuan as they chatted. He also pointed out where Air Gooden's hometown was. This was also a warning to Yu Yuanyuan. Although Air Gooden was simple, he wasn't stupid. After hearing Lin Yi's words, he looked at Lin Yi gratefully. He knew that Lin Yi was helping him. Then I'll have to trouble you. Mrs. Yu heard Lin Yi's words and heaved a sigh of relief. If Lin Yi could say that, he must have some confidence. Mrs. Yu understood Air Gooden's personality. He wasn't someone who talked big. His boss should be a righteous person as well. Otherwise, Air Gooden wouldn't call him boss. Yu Yuanyuan blushed after hearing Lin Yi's words. Although she and Air Gooden had feelings for each other, they didn't say it out loud. Now that Lin Yi said it, it made Yu Yuanyuan shy. She lowered her head, not daring to look at Air Gooden. However, Yu Yuanyuan was happy that her mother didn't refute Lin Yi's words. This meant that her mother agreed to her being with Air Gooden. After a while, Yuren came in with a few lunch boxes. He paused when he saw Lin Yi in the room. Uncle Yu, this is my boss, Lin Yi. He's here to treat Auntie. Air Gooden introduced Lin Yi to Yuren. Uncle Yu, where's the X-ray? Boss wants to see it. Hello. Yuren quickly nodded to Lin Yi and said politely, I'll go get it now. Please wait for a moment. Yuren didn't doubt Lin Yi's young age. Air Gooden was a steady person. He wouldn't do anything unreliable. Although he was surprised how he managed to contact Lin Yi, it wasn't the time to ask. Yuren found the X-ray and gave it to Lin Yi. Lin Yi took it out and looked at it carefully. The leg bone was completely shattered. This meant that the lion had bitten off her entire leg. Although it was reattached, it would still be missing a piece in the future. Even if it recovered, she would be limping. If it didn't recover well, it would be hard for her to stand up. Lin Yi wanted to use medicine and acupuncture to treat it, but it seemed like it wouldn't work. After all, a piece of bone was missing. Acupuncture and medicine wouldn't be able to fix it. The good thing was that she was just injured not long ago. It hadn't fully healed yet. So Lin Yi could use energy to heal Mrs. Yu's injury. If he waited until Mrs. Yu's injury was fully healed, Lin Yi wouldn't be able to save her even if he used his pure energy. After all, pure energy couldn't do anything to a healed wound. It was a qualitative change. It was different from a fresh wound. Chapter 1203. Healed. It can be healed, but I need to break the plaster on Ani's leg. Is that okay? Lin Yi looked at Mrs. Yu and asked. That, of course. Mrs. Yu hesitated and nodded. Although she didn't know how Lin Yi was going to heal her, she knew that Lin Yi wouldn't harm her, so she agreed. Yuanyuan was a little nervous. After all, Lin Yi's method was a little weird. He needed to break the plaster. Didn't a broken bone need a plaster? Why would he break it? It's fine. Boss knows what he's doing. If he wasn't confident, he wouldn't do this. Air Gooden looked at Yuanyuan and comforted her. The plaster's hardness was nothing to Lin Yi. He could break it with his bare hands. Soon, half of the plaster on Mrs. Yu's leg was removed by Lin Yi. At this time, the doctor walked in and saw Lin Yi breaking the plaster on Mrs. Yu's leg. He was shocked. You, what are you doing? Healing. My name is Lin Yi. I'm Guan Shuamin's disciple. Dean Qin knows me. You can give him a call. Lin Yi said calmly. With Xiao Fun's incident as an example, Lin Yi didn't wait for the doctor to say anything and explained to him directly. As expected, the doctor's expression changed when he heard that Lin Yi was Guan Shuamin's disciple. Although he didn't know what Lin Yi was doing, Guan Shuamin was a famous professor. Recently, Miracle Dr. Guan's name was very famous. The doctor didn't say anything more. He walked to the door and called Dean Qin. After confirming Lin Yi's identity, he closed the door and didn't disturb Lin Yi anymore. Miracle Dr. Guan's injury medicine was a miracle medicine for external injuries, so the doctor believed that Guan Shuamin's disciple must have a deep understanding of external injuries as well. He wasn't worried about leaving this to Lin Yi. Although he also wanted to go in and see what was going on, Lin Yi did not ask him to stay. It was not good for him to secretly learn anything. Moreover, he was not a Chinese medicine practitioner, so he could not learn anything even if he went to see it. Yu Run, Mrs. Yu, and Yuan were all relieved when they saw the doctor leave after Lin Yi told them a name. It seemed like Gooden's boss was indeed different. After Lin Yi broke the plaster, he removed all the gauze on Mother Yu's leg. Mother Yu grimaced in pain, but she endured the pain and didn't make a sound. After all, she was afraid that it would affect Lin Yi and distract him. It hurts a little, right? Don't worry, I'll be fine in a while, and I'll be able to walk. Lin Yi smiled and said. Mother Yu heard the first half of Lin Yi's sentence and didn't think much of it, but when she heard the second half, her eyes widened in shock. Able to walk in a while. How was that possible? Even a miracle doctor couldn't cure her injury in a short time, right? After Lin Yi said this, he inserted a few needles into Mother Yu's injury and placed both of his hands on her leg, channeling the art of dragon mastery. At this moment, Lin Yi didn't enter his sleeping state. After all, healing Mother Yu's injury didn't require much pure energy. Even if he wanted to replenish it, he could replenish it at night. There was no need to sleep now. Mother Yu looked at Lin Yi strangely. Suddenly, she felt a warm current coming from her leg. It was extremely comfortable, and the injury from before wasn't as painful anymore. Mother Yu raised her head in surprise. It seems to be working? I'll use acupuncture and pure energy to heal your injury. There's no pain, Lin Yi said. Pure energy. Mother Yu and Yu Ren exclaimed at the same time. What was pure energy? They had heard about it on TV and in wuxia novels, but did it exist in real life? Boss is a martial arts master, Gooden explained. But after hearing Gooden's explanation, Mother Yu, Yu Ren, and Yu Yuanyuan all thought of Gooden's shocking feat. Gooden could kill Fighter Li with one punch, so his martial arts were obviously not weak. Gooden's boss must be even stronger. If he wasn't a martial arts master, then what was he? Zhou Jiaming, you're a martial arts master too, right? Yu Yuanyuan looked at Gooden and asked with admiration. Me, I don't count. I'm just a little stronger. I'm not a martial arts master. Gooden was telling the truth. The difference between him and Lin Yi was quite big. But in my eyes, you're a big hero, Yu Yuanyuan said softly, a little embarrassed. Ah, he. Gooden scratched his head and smiled honestly. It seemed like the relationship between the two had some substantial progress after what his boss said. It's done. Lin Yi put away the needles on Mother Yu's leg and stood up, saying casually, it's done. Mother Yu froze. Yu Ren, Yu Yuanyuan, and even Gooden froze. They didn't think that in such a short amount of time, Lin Yi would say that it was done. Even Gooden was shocked. Although old Lin was a famous doctor in the surrounding villages, it would take at least 10 days to half a month to heal a leg injury. But someone like Lin Yi healing it in half an hour, that was unheard of. Ani, let's take a walk. You've been lying down for so many days, you should be tired of it, right? Lin Yi said with a smile. Mother Yu wanted to say something, but she glanced at her leg. There was no wound at all. It was as clean as before. Not even a scar was left. Mother Yu felt that her leg really didn't hurt anymore. It didn't hurt at all. Then Mama Yu was so agitated that she couldn't speak. My leg, Mom. What happened to your leg? Yu Yuanyuan quickly walked over, but when she saw her mother's leg, she gasped and covered her mouth in disbelief. Yu Ren and Gooden came over too. When they saw that there was no wound at all, they widened their eyes in shock. Mother Yu saw the shocking change in her leg and believed it a little. She gritted her teeth and sat up from the bed, getting down. Chapter 1204. Emotional Kong Xiaobo. I'm really healed? Yuan Yuan, Lao Yu, take a look. Is my leg really healed? Mrs. Yu paced around the house in disbelief, fearing that she was dreaming. Ani, you're really fine. Gooden was the happiest at the moment. Lin Yi cured Mrs. Yu's injury. It made him feel proud. Ani, you can leave now. I still have something to do. I'll leave first. Lin Yi was worried about Mr. Tang and Fun's condition. He prepared to treat them. You can't leave. You cured my illness. We need to thank you. Old you. And I will cook tonight. Do you want to cook something? Mrs. Yu panicked when she heard that Lin Yi was leaving. I really have something to do. Gooden came this time to get me the medicine. I need to use this medicine to treat my girlfriend's father. I can't delay it. Lin Yi explained like this, giving Mrs. Yu a reason why he had to leave. I see. As expected, Mrs. Yu heard Lin Yi's words and didn't try to stop him. Lin Yi was in a hurry to treat his girlfriend's father. How could she stop him? Just like how Gooden was in a hurry to get Lin Yi to treat his injury. Gooden was also in a hurry. But hearing that Lin Yi came to treat her first, Mrs. Yu was very touched. It seemed like Lin Yi treated Gooden really well. Yuan Yuan could find a husband like this, and to have a big brother like this, it was really her and Gooden's fortune. Haha, Ani, didn't I say it already? With Gooden's relationship, we're not outsiders anymore. I'm Gooden's boss, so I'm Yuan Yuan's big brother, right? So don't stand on ceremony. When there's a chance, let's have a meal together. Lin Yi smiled. All right, since you said so, I won't be unreasonable. You can go ahead with your work. When you're free, tell me, and I'll prepare a feast for you. Mother Yu said hurriedly. I can also make fried chicken and hamburgers. Yuan Yuan also smiled and added, Brother, come to my house. I will cook for you. Yuan Yuan felt that big brother was a good way to address him. Okay, my two girls might like to eat this. I'll bring them over to eat some other day. Lin Yi laughed. Little girl? Yuan Yuan was surprised. Boss friends. One of them is his mistress. Gooden explained. He'd seen Meng Yao and Yushu before. They were as pretty as goddesses. Concubine? Yuan Yuan was even more stunned. Gooden misunderstood. It's just a girl who likes to mess around. She was just messing with him, and he believed her. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Is that so? Yuan Yuan nodded and didn't ask any more. Whether or not Lin Yi had a concubine didn't have much to do with her, as long as she and Gooden were on good terms. Lin Yi left the room after thanking Yu Rinha and his mother profusely. The doctor who came in for a round walked around and was about to return to the on-call room. He raised his head and saw Mother Yu walking out of the ward, sending Lin Yi off gratefully. The doctor felt like he was struck by lightning. No way? What was going on? How did Mother Yu's leg recover? Wasn't this too unbelievable? Her bones were broken by a lion, but she could walk now? What was this? Medical skills. Lin Yi walked out of the ward and went to Tang Juqing's ward. But when he got there, other than a nurse who was cleaning, there was no one else. The ward was empty. Tang Yun's luggage was gone too. Excuse me, where are the people here? Lin Yi knocked on the door and asked. They have already checked out. What's the matter? The nurse raised her head and asked. Checked out? Lin Yi was stunned. Then he waved his hand and said, It's nothing. Yun Yun, where are you? Lin Yi called Tang Yun directly and asked, I'm on the way to our new house. The new house is ready, so we checked out of the hospital and are preparing to move to our new house. Tang Yun said, Moving? Why didn't you tell me beforehand? Lin Yi asked with a bit of blame. If you told me earlier, I would have been able to help you. It's fine, hee. Tang Yun smiled. Tang Yin smiled. Fan's family is moving today as well, and Xiaobo borrowed a car from Fatty Lai, so our families can go together. I see. Lin Yi nodded. Since there was a car, it was good, so he said, Yun Yun, Uncle Tang's leg can be treated now. I've got the medicine. How about I go to your new house now? Can be treated? Really? Tang Yun was suddenly happy and said, Okay, come to the new house directly. We'll be there soon. Okay. Lin Yi smiled and hung up the phone. After hanging up the phone with Tang Yun, Lin Yi called Kong Xiaobo. Boss, where are you? Why didn't you come? Kong Xiaobo picked up the phone and asked with some doubts, You still say I didn't come? Yun Yun's family is moving today. Why didn't you tell me? Lin Yi asked. Ah, you didn't know? Kong Xiaobo was stunned after listening to Lin Yi's words. How would I know if you didn't tell me? Lin Yi was a little dumbfounded. I thought Tang Yin would tell you. How would I know that she didn't say it? Kong Xiaobo suddenly smiled bitterly. Boss, you can't blame me. Okay, I'm just telling you. Take Xiaofan to Yunyun's house later. I got the medicine to treat her leg injury. I just happen to be treating Uncle Tang, so we can treat together. Lin Yi said. Are you serious? Boss, thank you so much. After listening to Lin Yi's words, Kong Xiaobo felt a burst of warmth in his heart. Lin Yi had always put Xiaofan's matter in his heart, which made Kong Xiaobo very touched, although Kong Xiaobo didn't care whether Xiaofan's leg was really lame. Even if it was like this for the rest of her life, Kong Xiaobo still loved her. But if she could be like a normal person, then Kong Xiaobo would find a way to make her return to normal no matter what. Kong Xiaobo didn't care about other people's eyes, but how painful would it be for a girl like Xiaofan? After knowing this good news, Kong Xiaobo almost jumped in joy. He hugged Xiaofan beside him, and he was extremely excited. What are you doing? Xiaofan was shocked by Kong Xiaobo's sudden action. Her parents were still on the side, and Kong Xiaobo made such a bold move. What was he going to do? Although their relationship had been set, it wasn't good to be so intimate in front of adults, right? Chapter 12:05. A little strength, Xiaofan exclaimed. At this moment, she felt emotional and complicated. After so many years, there was almost no possibility for her leg to recover. But now, Kong Xiaobo told her that it could be cured. Previously, after Xiaofan was dumped by Kong Mingming, she was disheartened, and her life was filled with darkness. As for whether her leg was cured or not, it didn't matter. But ever since she fell in love with Kong Xiaobo, although Xiaofan didn't say anything, she would always cry and hate herself in the dead of night. How foolish was she to get her leg injured by a car because of a bad person becoming a cripple? Now that she thought about it, how unworthy was it? How she let down Kong Xiaobo. She was no longer innocent, and she already let down Kong Xiaobo. Furthermore, her leg was damaged because of Kong Mingming. Xiaofan felt even more guilty. She felt that she wasn't worthy of Kong Xiaobo, and she blamed herself to the core. But Kong Xiaobo didn't care about it, and Xiaofan became even more depressed. It was almost becoming her heart disease. And at this moment, Kong Xiaobo told her that there was hope for her leg. If someone else said this, Xiaofan might not believe it, but it was Lin Yi, Kong Xiaobo's boss, who said it. Xiaofan believed it. Back then, during Dr. Kang's banquet, Lin Yi gave her and Kong Xiaobo the courage to stand in front of Kong Mingming's family for the first time. Then Kong Xiaobo slowly built up his career and status. He even had a house and money. All of this was thanks to Lin Yi, the boss of her lover. So when Kong Xiaobo told Xiaofan the good news, Xiaofan didn't doubt it and immediately cheered. That's great. Xiaobo, help me thank the boss. Huh? Of course. I've already thanked them. Xiaobo said with a smile. Tang Yun and Xiaofan's family basically started the renovation at the same time. With Fatty Lai's help, they worked overtime day and night. The new house had been completely tidied up. Not only did they have all the furniture and appliances, they even had daily necessities like pots and pans. Lin Yi couldn't help but praise Fatty Lai in his heart for being a very reliable person. Lil Yi, don't leave now that you're here. Annie's cooking tonight. It's like the new house is on fire. Mrs. Tang smiled as she looked at Lin Yi. The more she looked at him, the more she liked him. She was 100% satisfied with this son-in-law of hers, not to mention the benefits he brought to the family. He even said he could cure old Tang's illness today. Now that Tang Juqing's leg was healed, he was in a good mood. He could also do some business with Mrs. Tang. This way, the family's life would be better. All right, Lin Yi didn't reject it. Since he had decided to be with Tang Yun, he wouldn't be polite with Mrs. Tang. Lin Yi also noticed that the more polite he was to Mrs. Tang, the more uncomfortable she felt. She thought that they were estranged, so it was better to be more easygoing. That's great. Yun, accompany Lil Yi and treat your father and Xiaofan's mother. And I will go to the market to buy some delicious food. Mrs. Tang said happily. Lin Yi already knew Tang Juqing, and Xiaofan's legs like the back of his hand. He had done a detailed examination before. Now, he only needed to use the nerve stimulation medicine to repair the nerves. Combined with acupuncture, it wouldn't be difficult for them to recover. Lin Yi, what do you need me to do? Tang Yun brought Lin Yi to her father's room and asked, No need. Just watch from the side, and don't let anyone disturb me. Lin Yi smiled and asked Tang Juqing, who was lying on the bed, Uncle Tang, are you ready? I will stimulate the nerves later. It might be very painful. It's fine. It's nothing. Tang Juqing smiled indifferently. I have already survived the surgery. What's there to be afraid of? As long as I can stand up, I don't care how much pain I have to endure. Otherwise, I won't be able to do anything with my legs being inconvenient every day. All right. Lin Yi nodded and began to treat Tang Juqing. See, when the silver needle dipped in the medicine was inserted into the acupuncture point on Tang Juqing's leg, Tang Juqing couldn't help but take a deep breath. It wasn't just a matter of pain. It was extremely painful. One had to know that the nerves were very sensitive, especially when Lin Yi used the nerve stimulation medicine to stimulate the nerves in Tang Juqing's leg. Tang Juqing directly sat up from the bed with a head full of cold sweat. Tang Yun's heart tightened when she saw her father's expression. She nervously looked at Lin Yi, but when she saw that Lin Yi's expression was normal, she let out a sigh of relief. Dad, bear with it. Don't affect Lin Yi's treatment. Okay. Tang Juqing clenched his teeth. Naturally, he knew that if he moved, it would affect Lin Yi's treatment. Lin Yi smiled slightly and said, Uncle Tang, don't be nervous. Think about the interesting things in the past, and it will be over. For example, the past when you and Annie were friends. Ha ha. Tang Juqing heard Lin Yi's words and couldn't help but laugh. A fascinated expression appeared on his face. It was obvious that he was thinking about the past. Tang Yun, on the other hand, glared at Lin Yi. This guy had no respect for his elders. How dare he say anything? Yun, you don't know. Back then, your mother was a flower in the factory. You're old man. I was able to win a beauty back then. I have a certain level of ability to. Tang Juqing's leg didn't hurt as much anymore when he talked about the past. Dad. Tang Yun blushed when she heard her father's playful words. Haha, it's nothing. You're already so old. We're already friends. What's there to be embarrassed about? Tang Juqing laughed and said nonchalantly, But Yun, you're even prettier than your mother back then. Dad. Tang Yun's face turned from red to black. That's right, Uncle Tang. Yun is also the campus beauty in our school. I also won a beauty back then. I have a certain level of ability too. Lin Yi said shamelessly. Ha! Tang Yun was stunned. She almost lost her balance and fell to the ground. What the hell was Lin Yi talking about? Why was he becoming more and more playful? Tang Yun raised her eyebrows and wanted to stop Lin Yi from talking nonsense. However, Tang Juqing laughed heartily. Yeah, You're also capable. Otherwise, Yun Yun wouldn't be so infatuated with you, with her high standards. Dad, when did I fall in love with you? Tang Yun widened her eyes and looked at her father, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Last time, you misunderstood that Lin Yi didn't want you anymore. Didn't you cry your heart out? Tang Juqing laughed. Chapter 12:06. Distraction, Dad. I'm going out. Tang Yun turned around to leave. However, Lin Yi smiled and put away the silver needles on Tang Juqing's leg. Okay, Uncle Tang, stand up and take a walk. That's it. Tang Juqing was surprised. He didn't think that talking to Lin Yi would divert his attention. Unknowingly, the treatment was completed. Tang Juqing didn't feel any pain. Tang Yin realized that Lin Yi was talking nonsense with her father to distract her father and lessen his pain. She couldn't blame Lin Yi, but it was too embarrassing. Tang Juqing got off the bed and prepared to walk around the room twice. In fact, he could already walk slowly with his legs. Although he was limping a little, it was fine to walk slowly. However, this time, after Tang Juqing got off the bed, he almost tripped and fell when he walked away. Dad. Tang Yin was shocked and quickly ran over to support Tang Juqing. However, she was confused. Dad, what's wrong? Wasn't there a problem with your left leg? Why does it seem like there's a problem with your right leg now? I don't know. Tang Juqing was confused. It was his left leg before, but now it was his right leg. Did the disease not get cured and moved to another place? Tang Yun quickly helped Tang Juqing to walk 2 more steps, but Tang Juqing's steps were still uneven. If it weren't for Tang Yun's support, he would have fallen to the ground already. Uncle Tang, you still don't think of yourself as a normal person. Lin Yi couldn't help but smile at the scene in front of him. You're still using your left leg when you're walking, but now that both your legs are working normally, you're using one leg and not the other, and the 2 legs aren't evenly distributed. It's only natural that you can't walk stably. Oh, is that so? Tang Juqing was surprised. He carefully thought about how he walked just now, and it did seem to be the case. However, he didn't do it on purpose. It was just a habit. He used to walk this way, so he still walked this way subconsciously. It was no wonder that he was in deep trouble. It was because of this reason. Thinking of this, Tang Juqing tried to use the same amount of strength to walk. Sure enough, he didn't stagger like before. Instead, he slowly became normal. Tang Yin covered her mouth in shock. Dad, it looks like your leg's healed. Well, it seems like there's really no problem. Ha ha. After taking 2 steps, Tang Juqing laughed happily. It's done. It's really done. Of course it's fine. Once you get used to it, you'll be no different from a normal person. Lin Yi smiled. Yin Yin, let's go out and take a look. Xiaofan should be here too, right? Kong Xiaobo and Xiaofan went to Xiaofan's house first. After settling down there, they went to Tang Yin's house. At this moment, they were waiting in the living room. They knew that Lin Yi was treating Tang Juqing, so they didn't disturb him. When the bedroom door opened, Lin Yi walked in front while Tang Juqing and Tang Yin walked behind. Although Tang Juqing walked very slowly, he didn't need Tang Yun's support. However, Tang Yun was afraid that he would fall, so she still protected him by his side. But even so, it gave Kong Xiaobo and Xiaofan a huge shock. Tang Juqing's leg was even more serious than Xiaofan's. He was the kind of person who couldn't get up from the bed. But after witnessing a miracle step by step, Tang Juqing could finally walk steadily. No one would believe it if they said that it wasn't Lin Yi's doing. Kong Xiaobo stood up and looked excited. Uncle Tang, congratulations. Your leg is all healed? It's done. It's all healed. You can finally stand up and walk. Ha ha. Tang Juqing was really happy. At the same time, he was proud to have such a powerful son-in-law like Lin Yi. It was all thanks to Lin Yi's hard work that his family had gone from a poor family in the slums to a well-off family now. Most importantly, Lin Yi still doted on his daughter. This was what made Tang Juqing feel the most gratified. Kong Xiaobo's excitement was actually for Xiaofan. If Tang Juqing's leg was healed, then Xiaofan's leg would naturally be saved. Xiaobo, bring Xiaofan to the bedroom. Lin Yi looked at Kong Xiaobo's excited expression and smiled. Boss, aren't you going to rest for a while? Although Kong Xiaobo was anxious, he saw that Lin Yi had just treated Tang Juqing's leg. It should be tiring, so he should rest for a while, right? It's fine. Looking at your anxious expression, I'm afraid you can't wait, right? Lin Yi smiled. Not really. Kong Xiaobo was a little embarrassed, but he still brought Xiaofan to the bedroom. Uncle Tang, walk around by yourself first. You'll be fine if you walk slowly. I'll go and treat Xiaofan, Lin Yi said to Tang Juqing. All right, don't worry about me. You go do what you need to do. After Tang Juqing walked a few laps, he gradually grasped the technique of using his strength. The more he walked, the more agile he became. But then again, this leg was originally his, so it was quite easy to control. He didn't need to practice much, and he was already walking very well. This was also thanks to Tang Juqing's recovery training. Although he was limping, he had already recovered the muscle strength in his leg, which was why he was so skilled now. After entering the bedroom, Lin Yi looked at Xiaofan, and he was a little troubled. Most of the nerves in the leg were concentrated at the base of the thigh. It didn't matter when he was treating Tang Juqing. Tang Juqing was a man, so he only needed to wear underwear. In front of Lin Yi and his daughter, he didn't need to cover up too much. But Xiaofan was different. She was a girl, and she didn't have a close relationship with Lin Yi. It would be difficult for her to wear underwear in front of Lin Yi. Boss, what's wrong? Kong Xiaobo saw Lin Yi frowning, and he thought that Lin Yi was a little tired. So he quickly said, Boss, you should rest for a while. It's fine. Since you got the solution, isn't it just a matter of time for Xiaofan to recover? You don't have to rush. No, Xiaobo, you've misunderstood. Lin Yi waved his hand and said, during the treatment, you have to take off your pants, leaving only underwear. Xiaofan is a girl. Isn't this too inconvenient? Chapter 1207. Xiao Xiao fainted again. Xiaobo, what kind of nonsense are you talking about? Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry after hearing Kong Xiaobo's words. I'm not talking about what you are thinking. I'm just worried that Xiaofan will be embarrassed. What's the point of saying so much? Tang Yun didn't know what to say as well. She knew that Lin Yi wouldn't have any dirty thoughts toward Xiaofan. She heard that when Lin Yi was treating Meng Yao was naked. Lin Yi didn't do anything to Meng Yao. So why would he have any dirty thoughts toward Xiaofan? So Tang Yun trusted Lin Yi very much. She said to Xiaofan, Xiaofan, I'll help you take off your pants. And Xiaofan nodded. Although she was a little shy, she knew that Lin Yi was doing this out of kindness. He wouldn't have any dirty thoughts towards her. She and Tang Yun weren't on the same level, and with Tang Yun by her side, Lin Yi would have any dirty thoughts towards her unless he was blind. With that thought, Xiaofan stopped being shy and unbuckled her belt. With Tang Yun's help, she took off her pants, revealing her fair legs. It was quite sexy and beautiful. Tang Yun and Xiaofan sneaked a glance at Lin Yi and realized that his eyes were clear without any lust. He was seriously observing the position of the needle. On the other hand, Kong Xiaobo looked like he was drooling. This made Tang Yun smile, but Xiaofan was helpless. She glared at Kong Xiaobo and said, Can you be more serious? I was thinking, wifey, if your legs are healed, wouldn't you become a first-class beauty? I really picked you up. Kong Xiaobo laughed. Xiaofan turned her head and ignored him. Although Xiaofan and Kong Xiaobo had been together for a period of time, The two of them didn't cross the boundary. It wasn't that Kang Xiaobo didn't want to, but he felt that it wasn't the right time. Although the knot in Xiaofen's heart was untied, her leg injury wasn't completely healed. In this situation, Xiaofen definitely wouldn't feel comfortable in her heart. Therefore, Kang Xiaobo was drooling over Xiaofen's exposed legs. "Stop laughing. Go hug your wife and tell her some jokes or something," Lin Yi instructed Kang Xiaobo. "It will be very painful when I insert the needle. Distract her attention." "Oh, okay." Kang Xiaobo heard Lin Yi's words and quickly walked over. He hugged Xiaofen and began to tell her jokes. There was a person called Zhong Pingliang. He fell in love with the campus belle, Chu Mengyao. Kang Xiaobo began to tell Xiaofen about Zhong Pingliang's embarrassing past. These were all things that happened in his class. Xiaofen didn't know about it, but she didn't go to high school. She listened with great interest. Lin Yi inserted the needle quickly. Xiaofen grimaced in pain, but she was distracted by Kang Xiaobo, so the treatment went smoothly. There were many rumors about Lin Yi in school, but Tang Yin didn't like Lin Yi and disliked Lin Yi, so she didn't care about the rumors about Lin Yi. Later on, she got together with Lin Yi, and Lin Yi kept a low profile, so the rumors about him decreased. So she didn't know that Lin Yi peed all over Zhong Pingliang's face in the toilet, and that he fought with Heibao Bro during the exercise break. Now that she heard it from Kang Xiaobo, even Tang Yin couldn't help but laugh. "I didn't think that Zhong Pingliang would be so unlucky," Tang Yin sighed. However, any bad guy would be unlucky if they met Lin Yi. Didn't So Roming, Zhao Qibing, and the others get taught a lesson by Lin Yi? Ha! Lin Yi laughed and put away all the needles on Xiaofen's leg. "All right, try walking." "Ah, it's done?" Xiaofen's forehead was covered in sweat from the pain. Although she hoped that Lin Yi would finish the treatment soon, she also hoped that Lin Yi could cure her in one go. She wanted to become a normal person too much. "And, Xiaobo, try walking with her. Hold her, don't let her fall," Lin Yi instructed. As soon as Lin Yi finished his sentence, Lin Yi's phone rang. Lin Yi took out his phone and looked at the caller ID. What he saw made him pause. The phone call was from Feng Tianlong. Why would he call him at this time? "Hello, Uncle Feng." Lin Yi quickly picked up. "Yi, where are you?" "Xiao Xiao fainted again. Can you come as soon as possible?" "The doctors here said that they can't do anything." Feng Tianlong's voice changed, filled with sorrow and anxiety. "Ah, where is Xiao Xiao?" Lin Yi was shocked. Although he knew that this day wasn't far away, he didn't expect it to come so soon. "I'm at her apartment. Can you come now?" "I'll get Li to pick you up?" Feng Tianlong asked nervously. "No need. I'll go now." "Don't worry, Uncle Feng. I'll be there soon. She'll be fine." Lin Yi hung up the phone, his eyebrows furrowed. He told Tianlong that Xiao Xiao would be fine, but he didn't have any confidence at all. "Lin Yi, what's wrong? What happened?" Tang Yun's heart tightened when she saw the change in Lin Yi's expression. "Yeah, boss, what's wrong?" Kang Xiaobo asked. "Xiao Xiao fainted again. I need to go check on her." Lin Yi said, "Yun Yun, help me tell Ani that I won't be eating here tonight. Tell her I'm sorry. I'll be leaving first." "Wait, I'll go with you," Tang Yun said worriedly. "Worried that something might happen to Xiao Xiao. That's okay." Lin Yi saw the deep concern in Tang Yun's eyes. He knew that she wasn't faking it. She really was worried about Xiao Xiao. Logically speaking, for most women, if a girl who tried to steal their boyfriend died, then so be it. They would be overjoyed. So why would they care? But Tang Yun was different. She really cared about Xiao Xiao, just like when Meng Yao was poisoned last time. She was really worried about Meng Yao, and these weren't fake at all. They were her own thoughts. Lin Yi felt that he was very lucky to have such a generous and kind girlfriend. "Boss, I want to go to..." Kang Xiaobo and Xiao Xiao had a good relationship. When Xiao Xiao wanted to chase Lin Yi, he'd helped her plan before. So when he heard that Xiao Xiao fainted, Kong Xiaobo wanted to go as well. Chapter 1208. It's very strange. All right. Kong Xiaobo nodded and didn't say anything else. He had to listen to Lin Yi. After leaving the bedroom, Tang Yun said something to her dad and ran out with Lin Yi. They went downstairs and got in the car. Tang Yun finally let out a breath of relief. Lin Yi, you have a way to save Xiao Xiao, right? I'm not sure yet. We'll see. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Tang Yun couldn't help but fall silent after hearing Lin Yi's words. How could Tang Yun not understand what Lin Yi meant? Lin Yi meant that he wasn't confident. If it was something he was confident about, like when Lin Yi promised to cure her dad, he would definitely be able to cure her. But now Lin Yi said he'll see. So Tang Yun knew that Xiao Xiao was really in danger this time. Lin Yi ran through a couple of red lights and soon arrived at Xiao Xiao's district. Lin Yi and Tang Yun weren't unfamiliar with this place. After parking the car, Lin Yi rushed into Xiao Xiao's house. Tianlong opened the door for Lin Yi with a haggard face, and Lin Yi asked anxiously, "How is it, Uncle Feng?" "This is Xiao Xiao's doctor, Head Lu. Head Lu, tell Lil Yi about Xiao Xiao's situation," Tianlong said to a doctor in a white coat not far from him. "Yes, Mr. Feng." Head Lu nodded. He didn't know what Lin Yi did, but he knew who Tianlong was. He didn't hide it and said directly, Miss Feng's illness this time was very sudden. We've tried our best, but all the rescue measures were useless. Miss Feng's vitals aren't very good, and her physiological functions are deteriorating. Let me see." Lin Yi listened to Lu's words as he walked quickly to Xiao Xiao's sickbed. There were several tubes and wires connected to Xiao Xiao's body, and there were all sorts of instruments working. Lin Yi frowned at the sight. "Remove all these things. Remove it." Chief Surgeon Lu was stunned. "Listen to Yi. Take them all off." Tianlong didn't know what Lin Yi meant, but since Lin Yi could save Xiao Xiao last time, he should be able to do the same this time. He just needed to listen to him. "Okay, Mr. Feng." Director Lu got Tianlong's approval and started removing the wires and tubes from Xiao Xiao's body with the other nurses. Tang Yin looked at the pale-faced Xiao Xiao lying on the sickbed, her heart aching. She had expected this day to come, but now that it had come, she still felt bad. "Lin Yi, can you save her? I'm begging you." Tang Yin looked at Xiao Xiao and couldn't bear to see her like this. After all this time, she had treated Xiao Xiao as her best friend. If anything happened to Xiao Xiao, Tang Yun would be very sad. Tang Yun's begging stunned Feng Tianlong. Other people didn't know, but they thought that Tang Yun was Xiao Xiao's best friend, so it was reasonable for them to worry for her. But Tianlong knew that his daughter was Tang Yun's love rival. According to the agreement, Tang Yun was the main wife, and Xiao Xiao was the second wife. But no one would want to have a second wife, right? But Tang Yun was worried for Xiao Xiao, and judging from her expression, she wasn't faking it. What kind of person was Feng Tianlong? He was a secret agent, and his ability to read people was top-notch. If Tang Yun was pretending to be nice to him, Feng Tianlong would be able to tell with one look, but all he saw was sincerity and anxiousness. There was no pretense. At this moment, Tianlong was very touched and respectful. This girl was really generous and kind. It was Lin Yi's fortune to have a girlfriend like this. Compared to his daughter, he was probably a little more selfish, right? "Isn't she my girlfriend too? I'll try my best." Looking at Tang Yun, Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but he still said seriously, "Okay." Tang Yun nodded. Lin Yi held Xiao Xiao's hand and said to Tianlong, "Don't let anyone disturb me." "Okay, I understand." Feng Tianlong nodded and immediately ordered Li Yifeng behind him. "Little Li, guard the door, don't let anyone come in and disturb us." "Yes." Li Yifeng traced the gun at his waist and solemnly nodded. Then he quickly stood guard at the door. Lin Yi channeled the art of dragon mastery. He had a taste of Xiao Xiao's power last time, so this time, in order to prevent his energy from being sucked dry by Xiao Xiao, Lin went into sleep mode and entered the jade space, using the energy in the space to support Xiao Xiao's absorption. Lin Yi's prediction was correct. Just like last time, as soon as he channeled the art of dragon mastery, the energy in the jade space surged into Xiao Xiao's body through his hand. But this time, Lin Yi had it a little better. After all, the energy in the jade space was endless. But the next moment, Lin Yi was shocked, because Lin Yi realized that the energy in the jade space wasn't enough for Xiao Xiao at all, and the energy in his body was flowing into Xiao Xiao's body bit by bit. This was the first time Lin Yi had encountered such a situation. Whether it was treating General Wei Wu or helping Faubert and Lingshan level up, he could transfer the energy into their bodies directly through the jade space. There had never been a situation like this. He felt that Xiao Xiao's body was strange, but he didn't expect it to be this strange. Lin Yi's face changed. Jiao Lao, what's going on? Strange. Extremely strange. Elder Jiao was also deep in thought. Her body is so strange, but it doesn't seem to have much effect even if you send in all that energy. Her life is about to run out. No amount of energy will help. It's just barely enough to keep her alive. It seems like it's impossible for her to wake up. What do you mean? Lin Yi heard Jiao Yazi's words and froze. Useless? How is it useless? Jiao Lao, you're saying that she's at the end of her life, and there's no use this time? Chapter 12:09. There's no way. If that's the case, then I'll try no matter what. Lin Yi heard Jiao Yazi's words and relaxed a little. Since Xiao Xiao could be saved last time, then it shouldn't be a problem this time as well. After all, Jiao Yazi said that his main body wasn't here, and his senses weren't very accurate. With that thought, he let out a breath of relief. No matter what, it was fine as long as there was hope. Even if he had to transfer energy to Xiao Xiao every few days, as long as he had the jade space, he'd still have all the energy he needed. The energy in Lin Yi's body was flowing very slowly, but more than half of it went into Xiao Xiao's body, and the energy in the jade space was flowing into Xiao Xiao's body endlessly. Lin Yi was a little shocked. It seemed like Xiao Xiao didn't absorb all the energy in his body last time, but she was forced to stop because there was no more energy left. Time passed, but Xiao Xiao's body didn't stop absorbing Lin Yi's energy, and it didn't seem like it was slowing down at all. It was still rushing through Lin Yi's body. Half an hour, 1 hour, 2 hours, 5 hours. The energy in Lin Yi's body was flowing slowly, but it was getting lesser and lesser. It looked like it was going to be sucked dry by Xiao Xiao soon. This made Lin Yi grit his teeth and hold on, but at the same time, he was panicking. Jiao Lao, what's going on? Her body seems to need energy nonstop, and it doesn't seem like it's going to stop at all. Lin Yi's voice was panicking. I don't know, but it's weird, really weird. Her body has been absorbing the energy you're sending to her, but the energy doesn't seem to stay in her body. I don't know where it went. Jiao Yazi had a worried look on his face as well. It seemed like he didn't know what was going on with Xiao Xiao either. The last trace of energy in Lin Yi's body was sucked dry. Lin Yi knew that things might be different from what he had expected. According to his calculations, Xiao Xiao should have woken up long ago. Last time, all he did was transfer his own energy to Xiao Xiao, and she woke up right away. But now, not only did he transfer his own energy to Xiao Xiao, but he also transferred a large amount of energy from the jade space to Xiao Xiao. To put it bluntly, if this energy was given to Faubert or Lingshan, they'd have leveled up a long time ago. But Xiao Xiao was still lying on the bed, not moving at all. Lin Yi was sleeping, but he could sense what was going on outside. Xiao Xiao wasn't awake yet. With that thought, Lin Yi subconsciously stopped the art of dragon mastery. He couldn't keep transferring energy like this. His qi went into Xiao Xiao's body, but it didn't seem to stay at all. When he checked Xiao Xiao's body, she was still a normal person. There weren't any energy waves like General Weiwu was familiar with. Lin Yi stopped the art of dragon mastery, and the energy transferred into Xiao Xiao's body stopped as well. Xiao Xiao's body couldn't absorb the energy from Lin Yi's body anymore, so she stopped. Lin Yi didn't have the time to recover his strength first. After all, Xiao Xiao's situation was more important. Recovering his strength later wasn't a problem, since it wouldn't affect him much in the short term. Lin Yi opened his eyes, and Tang Yun and Tianlong, who had been paying attention to Lin Yi's expression, quickly walked closer and asked, "How is it?" "It's weird. According to what happened last time, Xiao Xiao returned to normal after I transferred my qi over, but this time I used up all the qi in my body, and there's no effect." Lin Yi smiled bitterly, not daring to talk about the jade space. After all, the jade space wasn't something that could be easily revealed to others, so Lin Yi only mentioned himself. Even so, Tianlong was shocked. "What? You gave all your qi to Xiao Xiao?" Tianlong's eyes widened. "Yes." Lin Yi smiled and didn't suppress his strength. He started the chant of the art of dragon mastery, and the weak qi in the air was activated by Lin Yi. At this moment, Tianlong could clearly feel Lin Yi's strength. It could be said that Lin Yi had no strength at all. Other than the qi in his body that was slightly stronger than a normal person, there was nothing else. You lost all your strength? You lost all your strength for Xiao Xiao?" Tianlong looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. One had to know that Tianlong was a practitioner, and he knew how important strength was to a practitioner. Lin Yi, on the other hand, was sacrificing all his strength just to save Xiao Xiao. Just how deep did their relationship have to be to do something like this? Tianlong knew that he could do it because he was Xiao Xiao's father. The power of a father's love was boundless. But what was Lin Yi? Why would Lin Yi do this? Was it just because Xiao Xiao was his girlfriend for a few days? Their relationship wasn't that deep to the point where he was willing to sacrifice himself for her, right? "I can recover, and you don't have to worry about Feng sleeping." Lin Yi waved his hand. "Now we need to think about Xiao Xiao. Why is it the same as last time? It worked last time, but not this time?" Tianlong and Tang Yun looked at each other. They knew that they couldn't help Lin Yi, so they didn't say anything. They just waited for Lin Yi to make his next move. Lin Yi was panicking as well. He could do it before, but now he couldn't. What was going on? Lin Yi couldn't figure it out. He touched Xiao Xiao and checked the life force in her body. Sadly, Lin Yi realized that he didn't know where his energy went. There was no energy in Xiao Xiao's body at all. That boundless energy of his, if absorbed, would be enough to create an Earth class or even a Sky class. But Xiao Xiao's body was still empty. It seemed like he couldn't do it anymore. He had to call for help. Tianlong had said that he brought Xiao Xiao's mother to old Lin, and the old man couldn't do anything about it. But after so many years, the old man might be able to do something. Even if he couldn't do anything, at least there was a chance to save her life. With that thought, Lin Yi picked up his phone and called the old man, not bothering to hide from Tianlong and Tang Yun. "Answer it quickly. Answer it quickly. What are you doing, old man?" Chapter 12:10. Frigid Chi finally. After a few rings, old Lin's lazy voice came from the other side. "Is this Lil Yi? Why did you call this old man? Did you see Ergun? Are you all right?" "Old man, let's not talk about this. I have something urgent to talk to you about." Lin Yi interrupted the old man. He was worried about Xiao Xiao's safety. He didn't have time to talk to the old man. "What's the matter? What is it? Did something happen on your side?" The old man's face tensed up, his tone turning from lazy to serious. "There's a strange disease that you've seen before, and you've treated it before, but you couldn't do anything about it. Do you have a new way? Lin Yi didn't know how to explain it to the old man. He didn't have the time to describe Xiao Xiao's condition, and even if he did, he wouldn't be able to explain it clearly. After all, Lin Yi didn't know much about Xiao Xiao's condition. What strange disease? What are you talking about? Lin Yi's words confused the old man. He didn't know what disease he was talking about. All right, I'll give the phone to Feng Tianlong, and he'll talk to you. Lin Yi didn't want to waste time. Every second was precious, and he couldn't waste any more time. It was better to let Feng Tianlong talk to the old man, and it would be easier than doing it himself. Feng Tianlong paused when he saw Lin Yi pass the phone over, but he still picked it up. Hello, I'm Feng Tianlong. Feng Tianlong. Feng Tianlong. Old Lin mumbled the name, and his thoughts opened up like a tidal wave. It was as if he had returned to his prime. That time, that friendship was irreplaceable. Hello, hello, may I know who you are? Feng Tianlong was a bit weird. The voice was familiar, but also strange. He only said his name and didn't say anything. Feng, I'm Lin Dongfeng. Old Lin sighed. I didn't think that Lil you would be by your side. Elder Lin, it's really you? Feng Tianlong fell into a state of excitement. Elder Lin, where are you? I heard that you went into seclusion. After that, there was no news of you. And Captain, let's not talk about the old days. Let's talk about you first. Didn't Su already leave? Why, oh, could it be your daughter? Lin Dongfeng pinched his fingers together and calculated. He couldn't help but think to himself that time was merciless. In the blink of an eye, almost 20 years had passed. Did that mean that Tianlong's daughter was at the end of her life? Lin Dongfeng felt guilty for not being able to find a cure for Tianlong's wife's illness. However, Tianlong's wife's illness wasn't a common one. Old Lin had never seen or even heard of it. Therefore, all these years, although they had been researching, they had not found a solution. He remembered how he promised Feng Tianlong's wife, Xiao Susu, that he would find a way to cure her daughter, but after so many years, there was still no progress. Yes, it's my daughter, Xiao Xiao. Lil Yi is treating her now. Elder Lin, do you have a solution? Tianlong didn't think that he would meet Lin Dongfeng at this time. If Lin Dongfeng had a solution, then things might really turn around. How about this? You give the phone to Lil Bi. I'll talk to him. Old Lin sighed. He didn't have the heart to tell Tianlong that he had no solution. He could only let him give the phone to Lin Yi. Okay, please wait. Tianlong knew that this wasn't the time to reminisce. Saving Xiao Xiao was more important. So Tianlong gave the phone back to Lin Yi. Elder Lin is looking for you. Old man, how is it? Do you know what the illness is now? Lin Yi hurriedly asked, is there a solution? No, or at the moment. Old Lin sighed. I've read many ancient books about this illness, and I've visited many people. Until now, there's only a shallow theory. Oh, what is it? Tell me. Lin Yi's heart sank when he heard that there was no solution, but he didn't give up. He hoped that the old man could tell him more about Xiao Xiao's illness. Lin Yi wanted to see if he could find a solution. After all, he still had Elder Jiao. When the time came, he could discuss it with him. Who knows, there might really be a solution. How do I put it? Xiao Susu's illness is similar to being poisoned, but I'm not sure if it's a poison or not. It looks similar. Old Lin said, when I visited Xiao Susu's hometown, I asked Feng Tianlong to get her family tree through the investigation department, and I found a problem. Xiao Susu? What problem? Lin Yi quickly asked. Xiao Susu is Feng Tianlong's wife. Old Lin said. Xiao Susu's ancestor should be a guardian of a sect similar to the high priest. Her ancestors have been guardians for generations, but for some reason her branch left the sect, or maybe the sect was destroyed, so they lost their practitioner's arts, and they lost the way to channel the cold energy in their body. That's why this tragedy happened. Cold energy. Lin didn't expect there to be so many stories behind this. He couldn't help but be surprised. Then what should I do now? Old man, What did you mean when you said that there was no solution for now? Does that mean there's a possibility of a cure? That's right, it's the cold yin qi. This cold yin qi weakens when it meets strong opponents. If there's a suitable cultivation method and a suitable cultivation method, this cold yin qi will slowly be controlled by the cultivator and become a type of true qi to enhance one's own strength. In other words, when a strong practitioner is the main force, the cold energy is the support, but Feng Tianlong's wife and daughter, even the generations before them, all had the cold energy as the main force, and they were the support. So, naturally, their bodies would have problems. Old Lin explained, this cold energy is similar to the poison in air Gooden's body. It will devour the nutrients in the body. As one grows older, the cold yin energy will also grow. When one reaches the age of 20, the cold yin energy will be completely formed. At that point, the body's nutrients will be devoured. Apart from the cold yin energy devouring the body's vitality, there is no other possibility. Chapter 12:11. Nothing will work, but Tang Yin seemed to have the same feeling as well, so Lin Yi didn't pay much attention to it. But now that he thought about it, there must be a problem. But Tang Yin didn't have a problem? Or maybe Tang Yin was born with cold hands. As for a cure, there is, but it can't be done right now. Old Lin sighed. This is fate. What is it? Hurry up and tell me. Don't just sigh over there. Old man, why are you taking so long? Lin Yi said, helplessly. First, find a cultivator who has a Yang Heart Sutra and use his true qi to slowly neutralize the yin qi in her body. Even though it can't completely solve the problem, it can achieve the goal of prolonging her life. But this person must be at least sky class. Old Lin said, plus, this method has its limitations. In the beginning, a sky class can suppress it, but as they grow older, the cold energy will grow stronger and stronger, and suppressing it will become more and more difficult. In the end, it might not work at all. HM? Old man, I practice the art of dragon mastery. Isn't that a young practitioner's arts? Then my pure qi should work on Xiao Xiao, right? Lin Yi was thinking about how his pure qi worked on Xiao Xiao the first time. So why didn't it work the second time? Could it be that there was something that he had overlooked? Your art of dragon mastery is like that, but don't try it. You might lose your life if you do. Old Lin warned after hearing Lin Yi's words, your strength is too low. It won't work. If you put your pure qi into her body, right now you'll be sucked dry, and all your qi will become a feast for the cold energy. Ugh, I've been sucked dry already, Lin Yi said awkwardly. What, already sucked dry? Old Lin paused, his tone growing anxious. Is what you're saying true? Lin Yi was stunned by Old Lin's anxious tone. In Lin Yi's impression, Old Man Lin had always been calm and composed. He was rarely anxious. Even when Lin Yi was injured, Old Man Lin wasn't anxious. He only asked Lin Yi to go to the West Star Mountain village to seek refuge. But this time, Old Man Lin was really anxious. Lin Yi was very touched by this strong sense of camaraderie. Don't be fooled by Old Man Lin's nonchalant appearance. When something really happened, Old Man Lin was still the one who cared about him the most. It's true. My current strength is 0, Lin Yi said. Then you're not dead yet. Is it a human or a ghost? Old Lin hurriedly asked. He's not dead. He's alive and well. Lin Yi didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It's good that you're still alive. Old Lin heaved a sigh of relief. If you lose your strength, you can train again. If you die, you'll lose everything. Thank goodness. You didn't die right away. Lin Yi was a little speechless. I've experienced it before, too. Last time in Yenjing, my qi was sucked dry, but it was a blessing in disguise, and I broke through after training again. I think I'll be able to break through again if I train again. I'm roughly at the bottleneck of mystic mid-phase peak. I should be able to break through in one go. F***CK. Old Lin's eyes widened after hearing Lin Yi's words. You're playing with her to level up? That scared the hell out of me. It's not really leveling up. It's just that I'm about to break through the bottleneck. Without breaking, there can be no construction. It's just easier to break through the bottleneck. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Forget it. You can't right now. Old man Lin said firmly, even if you refine the true qi in your body and transfer it back to her, repeating the cycle, it will still be useless. Your true qi will become a feast for the yin qi, and it will only make the yin qi stronger and stronger. I see. Lin Yi was troubled. Did he do something bad out of kindness? He put so much qi into Xiao Xiao's body, and not only did it not benefit her, it was actually harmful. He couldn't deal with a sky class with the extreme yang arts right now, and the old man said that this was just a way to extend his lifespan. He could use it now, but he couldn't use it forever. There would be trouble in the future. And so, Lin Yi turned his attention to the second method. Old man, since there's a first method, doesn't that mean there's another way? There is. Legend has it that there's a fruit called the fire spirit's fruit. It's a fruit of pure yang, containing the extreme yang qi of the heavens and earth. Eating one can suppress the yin qi in one's body for tens of years. Of course, it varies from person to person. Some people may be suppressed for the rest of their lives, but some people can only suppress it for 8 to 10 years. However, this is a more stable method. Old Lin said, at least it is more stable and safer than the first method. Fire spirit's fruit? I've never heard of it. What is that? Linny paused. He'd never heard of something like this before. I don't know either. Old Lin's words were like a bucket of cold water splashed on his head. Linny wanted to curse. Don't know what you're talking about. Aren't you just spouting nonsense? But Lin Yi suppressed his anger and asked, Old man, if you don't know, then why do you say that? I've only read about this fruit in some ancient medicine compendiums. It's a great medicine to remove the yin qi, but I don't know what it looks like or where to find it. Old Lin sighed. If I could find it, I would have done it a long time ago. Why would I wait until now? Linny thought about what Old Lin said and felt that it made sense. If he knew where to look, he would have done it a long time ago. He was in too much of a rush and forgot about this. So, this method is just a legend? It's impossible to achieve? Linny said, troubled, yes, unless you can find a fire spirit's fruit and give it to her. Old Lin nodded. Is there a third way? Lin Yi asked. A third way? I guess there is. Find a top-tier yin qi practitioner's chant for her, and when she reaches sky class, perhaps she'll be able to guide the yin qi in her body for her own use. Old Lin said, after some thought. That's... Lin Yi was speechless. Putting aside how hard it was to find a top-level cold practitioner's arts, even if he did find one, he wouldn't be able to make much progress in this kind of weather. Even if he did make some progress, it'd still be extremely difficult to reach sky class. Plus, the most important thing was that Xiao Xiao was unconscious. How was she supposed to train? And so Linny had to say, isn't that obvious? Chapter 12:12. What did I miss? Lin Yi didn't know what to say. Indeed, Old Lin had said from the start that he couldn't do anything. He was the one who was too stubborn. But Lin Yi didn't give up. That's not right, old man. Xiao Xiao fainted before, and I used my qi to treat her. She did wake up, didn't she? I almost forgot about that if you didn't mention it. Old Lin's expression turned serious as he said, That's absolutely impossible. Your current level of true qi will only harm her body and not benefit her. So think about it carefully. Did something else happen the last time she woke up? Qi shouldn't be of any use. You've been misled. Misled? Lin Yi paused, recalling the situation in detail. Xiao Xiao had fainted, and he'd carried her to the bed, channeling the art of dragon mastery. She'd woken up not long after, and that was the process. Nothing else had happened. Yes, I think you've been misled. Old Lin said with certainty, I've researched this disease for a much longer time than you. I don't know what's going on, but it's definitely not because of your qi. Ugh, I really can't think of anything. Lin, he was troubled. Success was right in front of him, but he couldn't figure it out. Linny knew that he might have overlooked something, but what was it that he had overlooked? I can't help you with that. You'll have to think about it yourself. Old Lin said faintly, but let me ask, you seem to care a lot about this Xiao Xiao's life and death? Yeah, she's my girlfriend. Linny said with certainty. Oh, old Lin heard Lin Yi's words. This "oh" sounded a little weird, but he didn't say anything. Good luck. Lin Yi hung up, his mind a mess. The information old Lin gave him was useful, giving him a more detailed understanding of Xiao Xiao's body, but it wasn't of any use at all. It wasn't of any help to the situation right now. How is it? Does Elder Lin have any ideas? Feng Tianlong waited for Lin Yi to hang up before asking anxiously. In fact, he had already guessed the answer from Lin Yi's disappointed and anxious expression, but he didn't give up and tried again. Lin Yi shook his head slightly. There was no need to lie to Tianlong about something like this. Seeing that Xiao Xiao was in a life and death situation, there was no point in lying. It would only make Tianlong more disappointed. Feng Tianlong sighed. He had already expected this outcome. Uncle Feng, let me think about it. Lin Yi waved his hand, telling Tianlong not to rush. Lin Yi was thinking about that day in the hotel in Yanjing, how he did it with Xiao Xiao. Tianlong nodded and looked at Lin Yi nervously. Lin Yi closed his eyes and carefully recalled the scene, but no matter how he thought about it, he couldn't find anything special. Jiao Lao, help me remember that day in the hotel in Yanjing. What happened before and after? Help me think from start to finish. Don't miss a single detail. Lin Yi asked Jiao Lao for help. Ugh, okay. Elder Jiao said, after some thought, that day, Xiao Xiao went to take a shower, and you waited for her in the room. She didn't move for a while, so you went to check and found her unconscious in the bathroom. You picked her up and started groping her chest. Huh? Lin Yi's face reddened. Jiao Lao, don't mention this. It wasn't on purpose. Didn't you tell me not to miss a single detail? Jiao Yazi humphed. Ugh. Okay. Continue then. Lin Yi didn't care about being embarrassed anymore. Remembering the details was more important. And then you realized this, and almost threw Xiao Xiao out, and then accidentally cut your arm on the door lock, and you carried her to the bed to save her. Jiao Yazi said in detail. Wait, cut my arm? Lin Yi frowned. The only unusual thing in this whole thing was that he cut his arm. He remembered that there was blood everywhere on Xiao Xiao's body and bed sheets, and the next morning Xiao Xiao thought that he had done something to her. Yes, I cut my arm. Jiao Yazi said suddenly. Right? Your blood is also of the yang attribute because of the art of dragon mastery. Could it be that your blood saved Xiao Xiao? Oh, Lin Yi thought that it was possible. Without another word, he bit his finger, and the blood flowed down to Xiao Xiao's forehead. What are you doing? Tianlong was shocked. He didn't expect Lin Yi to do this. He didn't know what he meant. Tang Yun, on the other hand, was startled as well. She didn't know what Lin Yi was doing. But Lin Yi must have a reason for doing this. She turned to Tianlong. Uncle Feng, please don't fret. Lin Yi must have a plan. Oh. Tianlong looked at Tang Yun, a little embarrassed. He wasn't as calm as a 19-year-old girl. It made sense, after all. He was worried about Xiao Xiao's safety, so naturally his heart would be more fragile. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that the blood seemed to seep into Xiao Xiao's skin, getting absorbed bit by bit. Lin Yi's body had already gotten rid of the impurities when he broke through to golden class, so his blood was very pure. Xiao Xiao absorbed it cleanly in no time. A look of relief flashed across Lin Yi's face. He was really lucky today. If it weren't for old Lin's reminder and Jiao Yazi's help, he would have missed this small detail. But he didn't expect that this small detail was the key to saving Xiao Xiao. Tianlong's eyes widened as he watched his daughter absorb Lin Yi's blood. He didn't know what Lin Yi was doing, but no matter what, it had to be good for Xiao Xiao, or his daughter wouldn't be able to absorb Lin Yi's blood. Tang Yin covered her mouth. As well, she didn't expect Lin Yi to use his own blood to save Xiao Xiao. She felt dizzy. If it was just a little bit of blood, Tang Yin wouldn't care, but in just a short while, Lin Yi had lost at least half a bottle's worth of blood. If this continued, would he be able to take it? Chapter 12:13. Do you know something? Time passed, and Xiao Xiao's pale face slowly regained some color. Lin Yi let out a breath of relief. It seemed like Xiao Xiao was fine now. Tianlong and Tang Yun saw Xiao Xiao's change as well, and they both let out a breath of relief. Not long after, Xiao Xiao opened her eyes, and the first thing she saw was Lin Yi's bleeding finger. She jumped, thinking that she was having a nightmare. She screamed, "Ah! Xiao Xiao, you're awake?" Only then did he pull his finger back, silently channeling the art of dragon mastery to heal the wound on his finger. But sadly, he realized that there was no energy left in his body. How was he supposed to heal the wound? Lin Yi smiled bitterly and took out a bottle of ointment. He'd given all his qi to Xiao Xiao, and he'd forgotten about it. "Lin Yi, honey?" Xiao Xiao finally saw that the person in front of her was Lin Yi, but she didn't know why Lin Yi had a bleeding finger on her head. "Xiao Xiao, you're really awake? That's great." Tianlong quickly walked to Xiao Xiao's bedside as well, surprised to see his daughter awake. Dad, why are you here too?" Xiao Xiao blushed, embarrassed. Did she just call Lin Yi honey in front of her dad? "Xiao Xiao, you didn't know that you were unconscious?" Tianlong didn't have the time to care if his daughter called Lin Yi honey in front of him. Even if she did, it didn't matter. As far as Tianlong was concerned, Lin Yi was a good son-in-law. At least he was satisfied. So the better Xiao Xiao and Lin Yi were, the happier Tianlong was. "I fainted." "I think so." Tianlong's words reminded Xiao Xiao. "My chest was a bit uncomfortable, so I wanted to lie on the bed for a while, but it got worse and worse, and I think I fell asleep. I don't know anything after that." "Xiao Xiao, you almost entered the gates of hell. It was Yi who saved you." Feng, Tianlong sighed. Although he didn't know when his daughter's illness would act up again after waking up, no matter what, it was better to live one more day. Xiao Xiao remembered Lin Yi waving his bleeding finger on her face. Was he healing her? Thinking about it, it seemed possible. Last time in the hotel in Yanjing, there was blood all over the bed. When she woke up, she thought that Lin Yi had pushed her. Thinking about Lin Yi using his blood to heal her, Xiao Xiao was very grateful. "Lin Yi, honey, thank you. What are you thanking me for?" Lin Yi smiled faintly. "You said it yourself. I'm your husband. Why are you thanking me?" You're right." Xiao Xiao was back to her usual cheerful self. Tang Yin let out a long breath and looked at Lin Yi. "Lin Yi, are you all right?" "I'm fine. I'll be fine after some rest." Lin Yi did look a bit weak right now. In fact, Lin Yi was very weak as well. He didn't have any qi left, and he lost a lot of blood. How could he not be weak? But finding a way to extend Xiao Xiao's life made Lin Yi very happy. His qi didn't work on Xiao Xiao, but his blood was very effective. It could wake her up. But thinking about it, it hadn't been that long since the auction, and Xiao Xiao's illness acted up again. Lin Yi wasn't very optimistic. How long could she last this time? Who knew when it would act up again? And when it acted up, would his blood still be useful? This time, the amount of blood Lin Yi gave to Xiao Xiao was clearly much more than last time. Last time, he just accidentally let out some blood, and it was enough to cure her. But this time, He purposely let out a lot of blood. Okay, Tang Yun nodded, seeing that other than exhaustion, there didn't seem to be anything wrong with Lin Yi. Yun Yun, stay with Xiao Xiao for a while. I'm going to take a nap. I can't take it anymore. Lin Yi felt like his eyelids were fighting. He didn't feel like this before because he was worried about Xiao Xiao, but now that he was completely relaxed, he felt drowsy. Lin Yi, honey, sleep on my bed. I'm the only bed in the house, and I'm fine now. Xiao Xiao quickly sat up and said to Lin Yi. Seeing that Xiao Xiao's face was rosy, Lin Yi didn't reject it. He nodded and fell onto Xiao Xiao's bed. Entering the jade space impatiently, Tang Yun, Tianlong, and Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, quietly left the room and closed the door for Lin Yi, not wanting to disturb him. Xiao Xiao, you really scared us to death this time. Tang Yun patted her chest as she looked at Xiao Xiao, who was still as lively as ever. Hee, Yun Yun says, were you really worried about me? If I die, no one's going to steal Lin Yi's husband away from you? Xiao Xiao grinned as she looked at Tang Yun, teasing her. Ahem. Tang Yun's face reddened, but she said, seriously, Xiao Xiao, what are you thinking? I really see you as a good friend, a good sister. If something happened to you, of course I'd be sad. If it's possible, I really hope that you'll be healthy forever, and nothing will happen to you. Really? Xiao Xiao was overjoyed and touched. Tang Yun was really, really good to her. She didn't bully the small wife, but took care of her. Perhaps she was the best big wife in the world. Yes, really, Tang Yun said sincerely. Ha, I'm so happy. Xiao Xiao was in a great mood, but she suddenly thought of something. Her face changed. Yun sis, do you know something? Tang Yun's words earlier made Xiao Xiao, who was smart and sensitive, realize something. Tang Yun said that if it was possible, she hoped that she'd be healthy forever, and nothing would happen to her. What did she mean by maybe? Did she know that she didn't have long to live? Tang Yun paused, not expecting Xiao Xiao to be so sensitive. She was just sighing, and Xiao Xiao noticed something. She didn't know how to answer. If she said she knew, would Xiao Xiao think that she and Lin Yi were friends with her because they felt sorry for her? For a moment, Tang Yun was in a dilemma. Chapter 12:14. You can't blame me, right? Tianlong had been listening to Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao's conversation, and while he was thankful for Tang Yun, he was happy for his daughter as well. At the end of her life, she met a reasonable wife like Tang Yun. If it were someone else, they'd be wishing for Xiao Xiao's death. Tianlong saw that his daughter had noticed something, and naturally he stepped up to explain the situation. He was afraid that Xiao Xiao would think that Lin Yi and Tang Yun were doing this out of pity for her. Xiao Xiao's heart skipped a beat. So it was like that. Lin Yi's husband and Tang Yun sis knew the truth now, but she let out a breath of relief. She'd have to say it sooner or later anyway, and it was easier to say it from her father's mouth. Otherwise, she wouldn't know how she'd tell Lin Yi. This had always been a sore point in Xiao Xiao's heart. She didn't want Lin Yi to feel the pain she brought him when she left, but she was deeply immersed in the beauty of love, unable to pull herself out. And so Xiao Xiao's heart was in a mess. She didn't want to leave Lin Yi, but there was nothing she could do. She lived in self-blame every day, waking up from nightmares all the time. Plus, not only did she have a boyfriend like Lin Yi, but she also had Tang Yun, a sister who loved her so much. Love, friendship, she had it all, but the more she had it, the more she was afraid of losing it. Now that her father told Lin Yi and Tang Yun about her situation, Xiao Xiao felt much more relaxed. Tang Yun says, you guys don't blame me, right? I've been hiding these things from you guys. Xiao Xiao couldn't look Tang Yun in the eye anymore. Not at all. In fact, we all sympathize with you. Tang Yun sighed. Xiao Xiao. To be honest, I was really shocked when I found out about this, but considering your personality, I can guess that you knew you wouldn't be able to live for long. That's why you're like this, right? Yeah. Xiao Xiao nodded. Unsurprised, Tang Yun guessed it all after knowing her situation, so it wasn't anything special. But you have to believe in Lin Yi. He will definitely find a way to cure you. Just now, when we were all at our wits' end, he came back to save you. Tang Yun encouraged. Yeah, I trust him. Xiao Xiao nodded, but still didn't dare look at Tang Yun. Come on, let's go make some food for Lin Yi. He'll be hungry when he wakes up. We didn't even have time to eat today, Tang Yun said, as she held Xiao Xiao's hand. Sure, Xiao Xiao said happily. She loved cooking for Lin Yi. Seeing how his daughter and Tang Yun were getting along so well, Feng Tianlong felt that it was unbelievable. Could these two women really live in peace without fighting? But the truth was right in front of him, and he had no choice but to believe it. Whether Tang Yun was sincere or not, Feng Tianlong could still tell. Perhaps Tang Yun's decision was out of sympathy for Xiao Xiao, but now, other than sympathy, Tang Yun's eyes were filled with deep love and care. Feng Tianlong knew that it wasn't appropriate for him to stay any longer. He coughed and said to Xiao Xiao, Xiao Xiao, I'll be going first. I still have things to do. Okay, bye. Xiao Xiao wished that her father would go out as well. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to talk about these private things in front of him. Feng Tianlong looked at Li Yifeng, and Li Yifeng naturally understood what he meant. He brought Dr. Lu and the other doctors out of Xiao Xiao's apartment, and Feng Tianlong followed behind them. After closing the door, only Tang Yun, Xiao Xiao, and the sleeping Lin Yi were left in the house. Yun sis, I really don't want to leave you guys. I really don't. Being able to meet you guys at the end of my life is the biggest blessing of my life, Xiao Xiao said emotionally as she skillfully operated the cooking utensils on the stove. Me too, Xiao Xiao. In fact, when I first agreed to your bet, I was just acting out of spite. I was a little conflicted in my heart, but as I got to know you more and more, I really treated you as a good friend, Tang Yun said with a sigh. That's why I said, if it's possible, let's be together forever. Yeah, Xiao Xiao nodded, touched. I also hope to have a big sis that loves me forever. Ha! All right, let's not talk about these unhappy things. Let's make dinner. Tang Yun shook her head as she said to Xiao Xiao. All right. Xiao Xiao started getting busy as well after entering the jade space. Lin Yi immediately started channeling the art of dragon mastery, greedily absorbing the energy in the jade space for his own use. Not only did he need a lot of energy from the blood loss, but he also needed more energy to recover his strength. Jiao Yazi looked at Lin Yi and couldn't help but shake his head. You sure are infatuated. You lost a lot this time, didn't you? There can be no construction without destruction, Lin Yi said faintly, ignoring Jiao Lao. He didn't have time to waste with Jiao Lao. You bastard, I care about you, and you take my kindness for granted. Jiao Yazi glared and turned away, ignoring Lin Yi. Lin Yi had experienced this many times before, and while he was making use of every second he had to train, he wasn't in a rush. He'd recover sooner or later. So what was the rush? The energy in the jade space was quickly channeled by Lin Yi, and Lin Yi was getting better and better at this. The first time, he couldn't completely gather all the energy around him for his own use, so he could only absorb it slowly. But after a few times of destruction, Lin Yi was getting more and more familiar with it, and he could channel all the energy in the jade space around him and above his head. This way, he could passively absorb the energy and speed up his training. If it weren't in the jade space, but the outside world, all the plants and houses within a few 100 miles would be affected by the energy around Lin Yi. If an outsider were here, they'd be shocked because the energy around Lin Yi was like a tornado surrounding Lin Yi, and Lin Yi was in the center of it all. Chapter 12:15. He had to give up. There was enough energy in the space of the jade for him to absorb, but he wasn't satisfied. He felt that the absorption was too slow, so he had to guide the energy around him and let it rush into his body. Lin Yi first repaired the blood that was lost in his body. This process wasn't complicated, and to Lin Yi, it was like healing his own body, using the energy to speed up the blood production. After his body recovered, Lin Yi started to recover his strength. At this moment, Lin Yi's body was like an empty water tank, gulping down the energy in the space of the jade. Time always passed in the blink of an eye during cultivation. Lin Yi felt that the energy in his body was accumulating more and more, from no strength at all to the early phase of the golden class, and from the early phase to the peak of the late phase, and then to the early phase of the mystic class. Finally, Lin Yi reached his previous strength, the middle phase of the mystic class, before he dropped a level. There were no accidents during this process because Lin Yi had done this many times, and it was a walk in the park for him. After returning to his previous strength, Lin Yi didn't slack off. He continued to use the art of dragon mastery, preparing to break through to the peak of the middle phase of the mystic class. Many things were like this: the first burst of energy, the second decline, and the third exhaustion. If he couldn't break through in one go, then it would be much harder to break through again. So Lin Yi didn't want to waste this opportunity. So he gritted his teeth and persevered. But how could breaking through be that easy? Even if the timing was right, many people would be stuck at the bottleneck for more than a year and a half. Many people might not be able to break through in their entire lives. Did they not touch the barrier? In reality, they had also touched it and were on the verge of leveling up. However, it was extremely difficult to break through this barrier. Lin Yi didn't want to admit it, but he had to admit that he had failed this time. It was a failure. Without destruction, there can be no construction. For the first time, Lin Yi tasted the taste of failure. There was no construction after destruction. This time, Lin Yi's attempt to break through to the peak of mystic mid-phase was slightly different from the last few times. The last few days were all very difficult, and it was hard to even absorb a little bit of energy into his body. In many cases, he couldn't even absorb a little bit of energy. It was like a bag that was filled to the brim with things. Even a little bit more could not be stuffed in. This was also the reason why Lin Yi could not break through the barrier even after trying so many times. But this time, he was able to absorb a little energy into his body, but he still failed. Phew, as expected, it still won't work. Lin Yi sighed and opened his eyes. After a while, Lin Yi decided to attack the barrier of mid-phase peak again. Lin Yi was not willing to accept this failure. He wanted to break through in one go. The energy in the jade space was once again moved by Lin Yi, and it surrounded Lin Yi at an unbelievable speed. Lin Yi had already grasped the method of absorbing energy, and he could use the first stage of the art of dragon mastery with ease. It could be said that breaking through to the second stage was something that was within his reach. Now that everything was ready, all he needed to do was wait for the stone door to open again, and he would be able to obtain the second stage of the art of dragon mastery. The first stage already had so many benefits. It was so much stronger than the average mantra, and it benefited Lin Yi immensely. Then, what kind of surprise would the second stage bring? Lin Yi was looking forward to it. At the same time, Lin Yi was regretting that he didn't discover the jade space earlier. If he had discovered the jade space earlier, he would have completed the first stage of the art of dragon mastery, and he wouldn't have to wait for so many years. He would have been able to open the stone door 5 years ago, but Lin Yi was just thinking about it. Sometimes one couldn't be too greedy. It was already good enough that he could achieve what he had today. Once, twice, thrice, although the energy was gathering around Lin Yi. Lin Yi still couldn't break through the barrier. Every time, he could absorb some energy into his body, but he felt like he was just a little bit away from it. If he could have just a little bit more energy, even a little bit more, he would have broken through, but the amount of energy he could absorb each time was limited, and he couldn't go any further. And after the energy was absorbed into his body, it would instantly be consumed by his metabolism, and he couldn't accumulate it again. It was like a person trying to push a door. If he didn't have enough strength, no matter how many times he pushed, the door wouldn't open. He knew that if he just used a little more strength, the door would open, but he couldn't. And the strength he used to push the door couldn't be accumulated either. After pushing, it would be used up. And that was what Lin Yi was like right now. His body was full of energy, and if he absorbed a little more, he would be able to break through the barrier. But if he absorbed it bit by bit, it wouldn't help at all. This situation made Lin Yi very frustrated and conflicted. He opened his eyes and looked at Jiao Yazi, who was smiling not too far away. Lin Yi said in distress, "Jiao Lao, why am I just a little bit away from breaking through? It's simple. You just broke through the middle phase of the Mystic Division not long ago, and it's already hard for you to take another step forward. The time is too short, and your strength hasn't stabilized yet." Jiao Yazi didn't seem to mind at all. It would be strange if you could break through at this time. But Lin Yi still didn't want to give up. The breakthrough was right in front of him, but he was still one step away. This feeling made him feel terrible. It was like having a plate of delicious food in front of him, but he couldn't eat it. Lin Yi tried a few more times, but it all ended in failure. He wanted to give up, but he didn't want to give up. This method of leveling up was tried and tested, but this time there was an accident. It seemed like the peak of the middle phase of the Mystic Division wasn't that easy to reach. Lin Yi returned to reality with disappointment. When he opened his eyes, the room was already dark. It should be evening now. Sitting up on the bed, Lin Yi walked out of the bedroom and opened the door. What greeted his eyes was a bright light, but Lin Yi's adaptability was much stronger than normal people. Under the strong light, he didn't feel uncomfortable at all. He could clearly see the scene in the living room. Xiao Xiao and Tang Yun were sitting on the sofa watching TV. The two of them were snuggling together, wearing cartoon pajamas. They looked like a pair of sisters. Chapter 12:16. Chapter 12:14. Sleeping on the sofa, HM. Lin Yi, are you awake? Tang Yun was worried about Lin Yi. She'd seen how much blood Lin Yi had lost and how much energy he'd expended. She'd been thinking about Lin Yi even when she was asleep. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, jumped up from the sofa with a swoosh. She said sleepily, "Lin Yi, honey, you're done? Do you want to eat or not? I'll go cook." Lin Yi looked at the two, touched. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "You guys should rest if you're tired. I'll go cook something myself." "No, we've already slept. The food's ready. We can eat as soon as it's in the pot." Xiao Xiao waved her hand and rubbed her eyes. Tang Yin stood up as well. "We haven't eaten yet either. Let's eat when we're done." Looking at the two, Lin Yi couldn't help but sigh. He wouldn't have tried breaking through if he'd known this would happen. It would have been better if he'd come out of the jade space earlier. He'd wasted so much time and wasted so much time. He might as well have spent the night researching and breaking through. "Let's go then. I'll help you guys cook." Lin Yi nodded. In the kitchen, Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao realized, to their surprise, that Lin Yi's cooking skills were much better than theirs. His movements were fast, but it didn't seem like he was busy at all. Instead, it was very organized. The two subconsciously became Lin Yi's assistants, helping Lin Yi with the seasoning and plates. Soon, plates after plates of delicious food were placed on the table. "Lin Yi, honey, I didn't think you were this good. You could even be a chef in a big restaurant. Meng Yao and Yushu are so lucky, even I want to move there." Xiao Xiao drooled as she looked at the food on the table enviously. Xiao Xiao's cooking skills weren't bad. After all, she'd been living alone since she was young. She was used to cooking. It was just one person, so it was fine if he could handle it. He only made some common dishes. As for Tang Yun, although she often cooked at home, due to her family's financial situation, she usually ate potatoes and cabbages the most. Seeing so many fresh ingredients, it wasn't easy for her to start. Ha ha, then let's move over. I'll go talk to Yao Yao. Lin Yi smiled and agreed. What Lin Yi was thinking was that Xiao Xiao's illness was acting up again, and it was lucky that Tianlong found out today. What if Tianlong wasn't here? If he went on a mission and didn't contact Xiao Xiao for a few days, wouldn't Xiao Xiao be dead for sure? And so Lin Yi felt that Xiao Xiao's suggestion wasn't bad, and the Miss and Shu were both reasonable people. They definitely support his decision. Nah, I'm not used to it. I'm just saying. Lin Yi agreed, but Xiao Xiao shook her head. All right, you can go if you want. The door's always open for you. Lin Yi knew that Xiao Xiao's relationship with the Miss and Shu wasn't as close as she was with Tang Yun. The situation was clear, too, that Tang Yun and Xiao Xiao were on one side, while Meng Yao and Yushu were on the other. Although there was a temporary truce, Xiao Xiao was facing Meng Yao and Yushu alone, and it was hard not to feel weak. Right, Linny, can you give Yao Yao and Shu a call? They saw that you didn't go back at night, so they called me, and I told them about what happened here. They were very worried about you and told you to call them when you woke up, no matter how late it was. Tang Yun suddenly remembered the phone call and said, That's right. I'm sorry. All right. Lin Yi nodded and dialed Meng Yao's number. Hello? Is this Lin Yi? The Miss picked up the call quickly. Yeah, it's me. I'm awake. I'm fine. You and Shu go get some rest. I'll be staying at Xiao Xiao's place tonight. Lin Yi said, Okay, take care of Xiao Xiao then. Shu, and I'll sleep first. Meng Yao sounded a little tired. Evidently, she hadn't slept at all. Lin Yi felt touched once more. The people around him all cared about him. The Miss wasn't good with words, but she did worry about him in silence. Xiao Xiao's house only had one small bed and a small sofa in the living room. It could barely fit one person. He could tell that Xiao Xiao didn't let strangers in, and she didn't have any friends before, so no one would come to visit. Everything here was prepared for her to live alone. Sleeping after eating was a bit troublesome. There was only one bed. How were they supposed to sleep? Xiao Xiao, you can sleep on the bed. Yun Yun and I can sleep on the floor in the living room. It's not dirty here, just put a sheet on it, Lin Yi suggested. Yun Yun, sis, you're a guest. How can I let you sleep on the floor? You can sleep on the bed, and I'll sleep on the floor, Xiao Xiao said after some thought. Xiao Xiao, your body's not good. Don't catch a cold on the floor. Tang Yun couldn't help but smile. You want Lin Yi to carry you on the floor, right? I'm not. Xiao Xiao blushed as Tang Yun saw right through her. Haha, why don't we sleep on the sofa in the living room and let Lin Yi stay with you, sleeping on the floor next to your bed? Tang Yun, of course, knew what Xiao Xiao was thinking. Although Tang Yun was looking forward to sleeping on the floor with Lin Yi, she wouldn't fight with Xiao Xiao at a time like this. Only the heavens knew how long Xiao Xiao had left to live. So Tang Yun had to use a humble attitude to face the last part of Xiao Xiao's life. I can't do that. Xiao Xiao was actually looking forward to it. Ever since Lin Yi slept with her at the beach, she'd been thinking about when Lin Yi could spend a night with her again. And today was a good chance. With Lin Yi by her side, Xiao Xiao felt very secure. Then it settled. Tang Yun smiled and said, Go to bed early. You still have school tomorrow morning. With that, Tang Yun stood up and walked to the sofa with a yawn. Xiao Xiao looked at Tang Yun's back and couldn't help but feel her nose twitch. She felt sorry for her. She'd been a little petty before, forcing Tang Yun to agree to her promise out of spite, but now it seemed that Tang Yun was a kind girl, and she couldn't bear to lie to her. Chapter 12:17. Do you want to believe me? Xiao Xiao nodded and walked into the bedroom with Lin Yi. She actually wanted to sleep on the same bed as Lin Yi, but her bed was too small for two people. If the two of them slept together, they'd have to hug each other. That position was too ambiguous. Xiao Xiao liked Lin Yi, but the thought of sleeping with Lin Yi like that still made her blush. Go to sleep. I'll watch over you. Lin Yi, on the other hand, didn't think too much about it. He didn't want to squeeze into the same bed with Xiao Xiao, and Lin Yi could sleep sitting down. Lin Yi wanted to try breaking through after entering the jade space. Oh, Xiao Xiao let out a breath of relief when she saw that Lin Yi wasn't planning on squeezing into the same bed as her, but she was also a little disappointed. Go to sleep. Lin Yi moved Xiao Xiao's chair to the bed, turned off the light, and sat on it. Xiao Xiao laid on the bed but didn't close her eyes. In the dark, her eyes rolled around, sizing up Lin Yi. She thought Lin Yi couldn't see, but Lin Yi's vision was better than anyone else's in the dark. Why aren't you sleeping? Lin Yi looked at Xiao Xiao's eyes. Amused. How did you know I wasn't asleep? Xiao Xiao paused. I can see you. Lin Yi shrugged helplessly. You're so strong, Lin Yi, honey. Xiao Xiao said. Do you have the legendary fiery eyes of truth? Lin Yi was speechless. I'm a cultivator. Naturally, I can see things clearly in the dark. This has nothing to do with the fiery eyes of truth. If that's the case, then tell me, if I also cultivate, would I not die? This was the first time Xiao Xiao had talked about death with Lin Yi, and since Lin Yi already knew about it, she didn't need to hide it anymore. This is possible. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and said, but there's not enough time. There's still a glimmer of hope if I start cultivating from a young age. But now, Tang Yun had already told Lin Yi that Xiao Xiao knew that they knew the truth when Xiao Xiao went to the kitchen, so Lin Yi wasn't surprised. I understand. Xiao Xiao was a little disappointed Lin Yi didn't finish his sentence, but she already knew the answer. She didn't have time to train now, so she didn't need to think about all this. Xiao Xiao, do you believe me? Lin Yi took a deep breath and asked, Of course I do. Xiao Xiao nodded, confused. I can definitely cure your illness. You won't die. Remember this, be happy every day. Don't think too much. Lin Yi's face was very serious when he said this, not just to comfort Xiao Xiao, but from the bottom of his heart. He wanted to solve this problem. Yeah, of course I believe you. I look forward to that day. Ha ha. Xiao Xiao couldn't see the expression on Lin Yi's face in the dark, and naturally thought that Lin Yi was comforting her. But Xiao Xiao had gotten over it long ago, and she wouldn't be bothered by death. Go to sleep. We have school tomorrow. Lin Yi smiled. Xiao Xiao clearly didn't believe him, but that wasn't important anymore. The important thing was that he had to have confidence, and no matter what, he had to find a way to cure Xiao Xiao, no matter what price he had to pay. Xiao Xiao closed her eyes. Lin Yi was right. She's still at school tomorrow, and she was really tired. Lin Yi waited until Xiao Xiao fell asleep before entering the jade space and starting a new round of training. The Xiao family's villa, on the other hand, was brightly lit. The living room of the Xiao family's villa was filled with smoke, and Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben were sitting on the sofa with furrowed brows, smoking. Motherfucker, these people really are bad. They're working with us Xiao family to earn money, but when it comes to teaching Pengzhan Industries a lesson, they all shrink back, saying they don't have enough cash. Brother, tell me, what the hell is this? They're all ingrates. Xiao Ji was quite pissed off this afternoon. The two brothers had visited all their business partners, and it wasn't that they didn't have enough cash, but that their business projects had taken up most of their manpower and energy. In short, none of them agreed to take down Pengzhan Industries in the stock market. Bro, don't worry, Xiao Ben sighed. This is actually human nature. Working with us, the Xiao family, and using our Xiao family's name as the sun in the sky, they'll be able to earn money no matter what they do. But taking down Pengzhan Industries in the stock market, if we don't do it right, We'll lose money. Pengjan Industries is different from normal companies too. There aren't many tradable shares, and most of them are in the hands of Pengjan Industries and the major shareholders. Even if we take all the shares in the stock market, we'll only be a small shareholder. There's no point in doing this. Old Wang told us this afternoon, and I realized that this method isn't very feasible. Then what do we do? Give up this chance just like that? Lin Yi's in the hospital, and Pengjan has so many properties. If we don't take this chance, it'll be a waste. Xiao Ji felt that it was a pity. There's nothing we can do, Hu told Elder Pai. And Mr. Pai to be in the hospital? That hero is just too strong, attacking Xiao family at a time like this. Even if we want to take Pengjan's properties, we don't have any cards up our sleeves. Xiao Ben sighed. Now, that Pengjan isn't going to budge. We can only get Elder Pai and Mr. Pai to do it. I don't want to. Xiao Ji was a little depressed. Forget it. We'll find another opportunity when Elder Pai and Mr. Pai are out of the hospital. We'll have a chance to teach Pengjan a lesson. Xiao Ben said, the meeting of the noble houses is about to start, and we should be active. This year, our Xiao family should be able to get a good spot, second only to House Yu. Yes, you're right. I'll go to Yanjing tomorrow and pay Shuixing a visit. Xiao Ji nodded. Xiao family's revenge could only come to a temporary standstill, and they could only wait for the right time to deal a fatal blow to House Chu. At the same time, in Yuan Yuan's house, Yuren looked at his wife, who was tidying up the house. He felt like he was dreaming. Recovered just like that. His wife's leg was bitten off by a lion, and it was so serious, but she recovered just like that. Yuren was stunned by the scene in the hospital, and he didn't come back to reality until he got home. Only now did he know that everything was real. Chapter 12:18. Chapter 12:16. Herr Gooden's confession, no. It's nothing. Are you really cured? Your leg doesn't hurt at all? Yuren still didn't believe it. What are you talking about? How can I clean the house if my leg hurts? Mrs. Yu said, annoyed. Did Herr Gooden's boss really cure it? Isn't this too amazing? Yuren felt that this was unbelievable. Weren't you there too? Why are you asking such a stupid question? Mrs. Yu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Ah, it really was cured. It's too amazing. Yuren sighed. Herr Gooden's boss is really amazing. When he has time, I'll definitely invite him to our house and thank him properly. Are you planning something bad again? Mrs. Yu glared at Yuren and asked, Of course not. I was just thinking that since Herr Gooden's boss is so amazing, I should ask him to help Herr Gooden and Yuan Yuan. Yuren explained. That's good. I thought you liked him and wanted to marry Yuan Yuan to him. Mrs. Yu breathed out in relief. I like him, but he doesn't like our Yuan Yuan. Didn't he say he already has a girlfriend? Yuren shook his head. I've thought it through after the underground arena incident. People need to learn to be satisfied, to be content. Everything in front of us is enough. Don't dream about those unrealistic things. Yuan Yuan being able to find a man like Herr Gooden is her fortune. As for someone like Lin Yi, Yuan Yuan might not fall for him. You're finally realistic. If you were like this earlier, you wouldn't have been tricked by others. Mrs. Yu shook her head and said, helplessly, if I wasn't tricked, I wouldn't have met Herr Gooden, and our family wouldn't have such a good life now. Yuren said proudly. At the same time, in Yuan Yuan's room, Herr Gooden's expression was serious. This time, he wanted to talk to Yuan Yuan about the future. Gooden might look like a fool, but he wasn't an idiot. He had his own plans. Zhou Jiaming, what do you want to say to me? Yuan Yuan was a bit shy, lowering her head, not daring to look at Gooden. Her hand clutched the corner of her shirt, a bit nervous. A man and a woman alone in a room. She was afraid that Gooden would do something to her. I have something very important to tell you. Gooden sighed before saying seriously, What is it? Yuan's heart tightened. Was Gooden confessing to her? The two of them being together was a little interesting, but they never made it clear. Today, with Gooden, Yuan, I'll be going back home soon. Gooden said, Ah. Yuan paused, not expecting Gooden's first words to be leaving. She didn't know what to do. Naturally, she didn't want Gooden to leave after all this time. She had developed feelings for him. How could she let him leave? Yuan, I have a reason why I have to go back. So, I want to ask you, will you go back with me in the future? Gooden looked at Yuan and asked word by word. Yuan was dumbfounded. This Gooden was too direct, wasn't he? Who asked a girl like that? You didn't even confess, and you're asking me to go back with you? Wasn't this a bit too fast? Man, I know, too, you're a girl born in a big city. Why would you want to go to a small village with me? Gooden looked at Yuan's expression and laughed at himself. Forget it, pretend I didn't say anything. With that, he turned around and was about to leave Yuan's room. Gooden wasn't an idiot, but he was an honest man. He thought that Yuan was rejecting him when she didn't say anything. In order to avoid the awkwardness, Gooden decided that he should leave as soon as possible. It wouldn't be good for them to be friends in the future. Yuan was even more stunned now. What kind of person was this? He didn't even say much, and he just turned around and left. What do you mean, why would I want to? How do you know I don't want to? You're even answering for me? Zhou Jiming, you bastard. Yuan panicked. Stop right there. This time, it was Gooden's turn to be dumbfounded. He didn't think that the usually gentle Yuan would get angry, cursing at him. Gooden turned around and looked at Yuan carefully, not sure what was wrong with her. How do you know I don't want to? You think you have superpowers? You can see what I'm thinking? Yuan glared at Gooden. Then you're willing? Gooden blinked and then became happy. He finally understood why Yuan was angry. You didn't even confess to me. Why should I go back with you? Yuan snorted and did not answer. Ha ha. Gooden, of course, understood what Yuan was thinking. It seemed like Yuan agreed to go with him, and he misunderstood. Gooden scratched his head. Yuan, I actually like you, and I want you to be my wife. What the hell are you talking about? Do you even know how to confess? Yuan rolled her eyes. It was such a romantic moment. And this guy was acting like this. Well, it's like that. It's fine as long as you know. I'm not that good with words. You know, Gooden explained helplessly. Forget it. I don't understand romance. Yuan couldn't do anything about this. Thinking that Gooden had always been like this, she didn't mind. Instead, she felt a bit of sweetness in her heart. Nothing could compare to what Gooden said just now. He wanted her to be his wife. Nowadays, there were quite a number of young couples who made vows of undying love, but when it came to marriage, their vows of undying love became bullshit. Some guys just wanted to have fun, and some girls didn't like guys because they didn't have a car or a house. Gooden wasn't romantic at all, but it was practical. Then, are you coming back with me or not? Gooden was panicking. Yuan still hadn't given him a definite answer. But what about my parents? Yuan was worried about her parents. Chapter 12:19. Heavenly benefits you. Dumb people have dumb luck meeting a good boss. Yuan was a bit speechless, but Lin Yi looked like a smart guy. He should have a way to solve this problem, right? In the Jade Space, Lin Yi had failed his 20th attempt at Mystic Mid-Phase Peak. Lin Kid, I told you, you're still lacking. You just need to train for a few more days, and maybe you'll be able to break through. You're just wasting your time, aren't you? Jiao Yazi shook his head as he looked at Lin Yi's failure. Jiao Lao, I can't accept this. If I want to save Xiao Xiao, I need to get stronger. Only when I'm Sky Class can I extend her life. Lin Yi gritted his teeth. Forgive me for being blunt. But even if you're a training genius, you won't be able to reach Sky Class before Xiao Xiao dies. Jiao Lao said, it's good to have a goal to strive for, but if it's too unrealistic, then you're biting off more than you can chew. Lin couldn't help but smile bitterly when he heard Jiao Lao's words. Indeed, he was biting off more than he could chew, wanting to break through to Sky Class and extend Xiao Xiao's life. But now that he'd calmed down, Jiao Lao's words weren't without reason. He was only a mystic mid-phase, and there was still an Earth class between him and Sky Class. Trying to break through from mystic to Earth class wasn't biting off more than he could chew. If word got out, he'd be a laughing stock. It was unrealistic for other people to break through from mystic mid-phase to Earth class, let alone mystic mid-phase to Sky Class. And Jiao Lao wasn't wrong at all. Even if he was a genius, he wouldn't be able to break through to Sky Class before Xiao Xiao died. In other words, even if he did break through to Sky Class, he'd only be extending Xiao Xiao's life, not actually curing her. So, in order to solve Xiao Xiao's problem, he had to find out if there was a fire spirit's fruit in this world. If he did, he'd give Xiao Xiao one to suppress the cold energy in her body. That way, he'd have plenty of time to find a suitable cold energy practitioner's arts for Xiao Xiao, and he'd be able to guide her in her training. That should solve the problem once and for all. Thank you, Lin nodded. In an instant, he had figured out many things. I also don't want to see you work in vain. Jiao Lao waved his hand and said indifferently, but I still want to break through. This is not only to save Xiao Xiao, but also for myself. The enemy is too strong. I must increase my strength. Lin said, F***CK. I've wasted my words. Jiao Yazi rolled his eyes. Do what you want. If you want to do useless work, then do it. If you can break through today, I'll tell you a huge benefit. A huge benefit. Lin Yi's eyes lit up. Jiao Yazi's benefit was no ordinary benefit. The information he got from Jiao Yazi was extremely useful to Lin Yi, and this was all information Jiao Yazi told him without any conditions. This huge benefit had to be something even more powerful. Yes, I was going to tell you this benefit after you break through to the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, but if you break through today, then I'll tell you now. Jiao Yazi actually didn't want Lin Yi to continue tormenting him. But since Lin Yi didn't give up, Jiao Yazi said it out of anger. He didn't expect Lin Yi to take it seriously. All right, it's a deal. Lin Yi nodded and continued to sit cross-legged, entering the state of cultivation. Jiao Yazi was a little speechless, but since Lin Yi insisted, he had nothing else to say. Lin Yi activated the art of dragon mastery and mobilized the energy in the space of the jade pendant. Everything in the beginning was easy for Lin Yi, but at the last moment, he inevitably failed. Once, twice, thrice, all the way until the 10th time, Lin Yi finally wanted to give up. It seemed like Jiao Yazi was right. He wasn't there yet. Although he had reached the peak of the middle phase of the mystic class, he was still lacking a little bit. Don't underestimate this little bit. There's a saying that a little bit of difference can lead to a great loss. However, Lin Yi remembered the benefit Jiao Yazi mentioned before, and his heart itched. He opened his eyes and looked at Jiao Yazi. Jiao Lao, why don't I give up, and you tell me what that benefit is? I say, Lin Kid, what does it have to do with me whether you give up or not? What benefit do I have to tell you if you give up? Do you think I'm an old fool? Jiao Yazi couldn't help but laugh at Lin Yi. You brat, what a good plan. You give up and still want benefits? Do you think you're dreaming right now? Ugh, this... Lin Yi blushed at Jiao Yazi's words, but this also made Lin Yi even more stubborn. Fine, then I'll break through for you to see. Then continue. Jiao Yazi nodded. Let's continue then. Who's afraid of who? Lin Yi took a deep breath and decided to enter the next round of breaking through. This time, Lin Yi didn't train recklessly and blindly like before. Instead, he carefully recalled the feeling he had before he broke through. He felt that the energy he absorbed wasn't enough, just a little bit more, but the amount of energy he absorbed was already at the limit. He couldn't go any more, right? Did he really need to cultivate for a while longer, wait for the energy in his body to accumulate more, and then think about breaking through? But if he did that, the benefits would be gone, and Jiao Yazi was completely a virtual person. Forcing him was useless, so if Linny wanted to know the benefits, the only way was to break through today. But how could he break through? Linny furrowed his brows. Looking at Lin Yi's thoughtful look, Jiao Yazi found it a little funny, thinking to himself, this kid really wants to know what the benefits are? When you cultivate the second stage of the art of dragon mastery, you'll naturally know the benefits. But now, even if you know the benefits, what's the use? Your strength isn't at the second stage. You can't use it even if you know. Lin Yi still didn't know that he was actually schemed by Jiao Lao, who promised him an unrealistic benefit. If he knew this earlier, Lin Yi wouldn't be so eager to break through. A little more energy, a little more. How can I get a little more? You're tuning into the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.